Chapter 2143. Let me think about it. Dong Jun originally wanted to see Yang Ming and see if he could help Yang Ming. He wanted to act as an insider to deal with Elder Yu. However, Dr. Benjamin did not speak, so he did not dare to leave at will. Therefore, he could only patronize Elder Yu first. Okay, if you don't have any interest at that time, you can come to my place as a guest. Looking at Yang Ming's current coolie, it's actually quite refreshing. Elder Yu said, after all, we are also old partners and old partners. Okay, let me think about it. If there is nothing else, I will go. Dong Jun's words seemed to agree, but in fact, it sounded like he did not agree. Okay, I will wait for you. Elder Yu also heard Dong Jun's patronizing, so he did not force him and said with some regret. After hanging up the phone, Dong Jun laughed, ah ha 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 ha. I really didn't expect that Elder Yu actually invited me to see Yang Ming. This is a great thing. Yeah, if you go, it shouldn't be difficult to kill Elder Yu, but for this matter, you have to consider the Central and Dr. Benjamin's reaction. Secondly, you can't be too anxious. If you are too anxious, you won't be able to achieve the effect. You have to wait until Elder Yu wants you to go, then you can use your means. He won't be on guard. Huang Yukai said, if you go now, he will definitely be on guard against you. That's right. Dong Jun nodded and said, during this time, I will often call Elder Yu and get to know each other better. This is a good idea. Huang Yukai also nodded. In the Medicine Valley, Yang Ming naturally didn't know that so many things were happening outside. He also didn't know that Dong Jun had actually turned over a new leaf and was plotting with him to kill Elder Yu. Because Yang Ming's energy was mainly on the refining of the Hercules voodoo. Ignoring the difficulties, another month passed in a blink of an eye. The Hercules voodoo was finally successfully refined under the full efforts of Yang Ming and others. However, following that, there was a very serious problem. That was, although the Hercules voodoo was successfully refined, it could not be taken casually. It must be nourished with a nutrient solution to exert the effect of the Hercules voodoo. On the contrary, if the Hercules voodoo was poisoned without the nutrient solution, not only it could not exert the effect of the Hercules voodoo, but it would also be weak. The Hercules voodoo devour all the nutrients in the body and slowly die. Who dared to experiment with such a scary voodoo poison? In the absence of the nutrient solution, who would dare to try it casually? Therefore, Yang Ming and others didn't feel the joy of researching the vigor voodoo at all. Instead, they felt a deep worry. Now, the next step was to find a suitable nutrient solution for the Herculean venom. Oh. Therefore, the people who were just ready to breathe a sigh of relief once again immersed themselves in the research and development. A variety of nutrient solutions were developed and placed in the test equipment of the Hercules voodoo. However, some of them did not have any effect. Instead, they directly poisoned the Hercules voodoo to death. Some of them had no effect. Although they could not poison the Hercules voodoo to death, the Hercules voodoo would die when the time was up. It was useless. There were only a few nutrient solutions that could let the Hercules voodoo live for a few more hours. But these few hours had no effect. Because no matter how much nutrient solution was added, it could only let the Hercules voodoo live for 1 or 2 more hours. It could not let it live for another minute or second. It seems that these ordinary nutrient solutions that we have developed are not suitable. Yang Ming sighed and said, we can only think of other ways. During the break, Yang Ming said with a bitter smile. Yeah, ordinary nutrient solutions have no effect on this Hercules voodoo. Lon Ling said, but for the time being, we can't think of other ways. Lu Tianqi was playing with the small bottle that contained the quick cicada voodoo. These few days, he had developed an interest in the quick cicada voodoo. When he had nothing to do, he liked to study the quick cicada voodoo. He wanted to see if he could understand the principle of the quick cicada voodoo. The quick cicada voodoo, this little thing, actually had a tenacious vitality. After being pricked by Yang Ming, nothing happened. The needle was removed, and it lived very well. However, in the bottle, the quick cicada voodoo secreted a thick layer of transparent liquid. He did not know what it was for. Lu Tianqi had nothing to do, so he used a dropper to extract some of the transparent liquid. He wanted to study what it was. After all, this quick cicada voodoo could secrete things without eating or drinking. Moreover, it lived very well. This made Lu Tianqi very puzzled. How did this quick cicada voodoo live? Of course, this kind of strange voodoo could not be judged with common sense. Therefore, Lu Tianqi studied it as a form of entertainment. What is that? Do you want to put it in the petri dish of the Herculean voodoo? Yang Ming saw that the quick cicada voodoo was living very well, and there was this transparent liquid in the bottle, so he suddenly said this. After Lu Tianqi heard Yang Ming's words, he was slightly stunned. Then, he really dripped the transparent liquid in the dropper into the petri dish of the Herculean voodoo. Then, he extracted some of the liquid and prepared to put it into the instrument for testing. No one cared about this matter. However, the next day, when everyone was about to continue studying the new petri dish, they found that the Herculean voodoo that was dripped into the petri dish with the transparent liquid yesterday was living very well. Not only did it not die, but it was even more active. Everyone was dumbfounded by the phenomenon in front of them. They did not expect such a situation to occur. The transparent liquid secreted by the quick cicada voodoo could actually be used as a nutrient for the Herculean voodoo. Although it sounded unimaginable, the goo poison was a very unimaginable thing. Even Lan Ling couldn't explain many of the principles behind it. Therefore, everyone was very happy about this important discovery. Lu Tianqi quickly extracted some transparent liquid and put it into the petri dish of the Herculean voodoo. He was prepared to see the results tomorrow. As a result, the next day, they found that the Herculean voodoo was still living very happily. Chapter 2144. If it was in the past, the Herculean venomous worm would have died long ago. In other words, it could be deduced that the transparent liquid secreted by the swift cicada goo was the nutrient that nourished the Herculean goo. As long as he continued to confirm it over a long period of time, he could completely confirm this conjecture. Thinking of this possibility, everyone was happy again. Every day, they happily observed the survival of the Herculean venomous insect. After nearly half a month of testing, it was now basically certain that the transparent liquid secreted by the swift cicada goo was the nutrient that nourished the Herculean goo. As for the Herculean goo, when they were not activated, just one drop of the nutrient liquid was enough to sustain their survival. However, if you open the container containing the Herculean venomous worms and disturb their tranquility, they will become active. This is the time when the nutrient solution will be consumed the most. One could clearly see with the naked eye that the nutrient liquid was quickly devoured by these goo worms. If a new nutrient solution was not added or the lid of the container was closed to allow the parasites to regain their peace, then these parasites would quickly devour their own kind until they died. In such a frightening situation, no one dared to experiment on a real person. No one could guarantee what would happen to the Herculean strength goo after it was swallowed. If it was not maintained by the swift cicada goo secretion, what would happen? Therefore, after a unanimous discussion, everyone decided to use animals instead of humans for the experiment. Therefore, during these days, everyone began to let pigs, dogs, chickens, ducks, white mice, and other animals take the Herculean goo. Then, they began to observe these animals that took the Herculean goo. After a long period of observation and experiment, they came to a conclusion. That was, the animals that had taken the Herculean venomous insect could live a normal life every day without any problems. However, once a fight broke out between them, for example, a dog and a cat, the dog would become extremely strong and could kick the cat to death with one kick. On the other hand, if the cat that had consumed the Herculean venomous worm had the upper hand, it could also kick a wolf to death. From this, it could be seen that the role of the Herculean voodoo was very powerful. It could almost make animals become extremely strong. Of course, this was only a benefit. Similarly, there were benefits and disadvantages. The disadvantage was that after these animals activated the Herculean worm in their bodies, although they became extremely strong, they would soon become dispirited and unable to even crawl. They would lie on the ground, and no matter what they ate or did, they could hardly move. This kind of situation made Yang Ming and the others even more shocked after seeing it. In that case, who would dare to casually consume the Herculean venomous insect? And everyone randomly fed the nutrient liquid secreted by the swift cicada goo to a few animals with this condition. And the animals that took the nutrient liquid instantly became active. Their vitality returned, and they became as lively as before. As for those animals that didn't take the nutrient solution, they would slowly walk towards death. The animals that took the nutrient solution were lively again. And according to the species of the animals, these animals that took the nutrient solution could activate the Herculean venomous insect for another 5 times. And after that, they would return to their previous state, unable to move at all. It could be seen that the Herculean venomous insect needed to be used with the nutrient solution. If it wasn't used with the nutrient solution, then after consuming it, the only thing left would be death. But this nutrient solution was secreted by the swift cicada goo. Not to mention the small amount, they couldn't carry the swift cicada goo with them all the time, right? What if the swift cicada goo ran away, died, or something else happened? This Herculean venomous insect was powerful, but who would dare to consume it? So, after understanding the principle of the Herculean venomous insect, everyone couldn't help but look at each other. Who would dare to eat this kind of thing? Why don't I eat it? Feng Tianlong was the first to volunteer. He stood up and said, "Everyone knows about Su Su's situation. So, if I eat the Herculean venomous insect, then I'll just die in the future. It's not a big deal. What kind of joke is this?" Before Feng Tianlong could finish, Yang Ming rejected him. "Didn't you and Su Su plan to have a child? If you die, what will happen to your child? What are you thinking? I don't agree." This. Feng Tianlong didn't think so much before. Now that Yang Ming reminded him, he hesitated. That's right, he had a child. If he ate the Herculean venomous insect and died, what would happen to his child? Okay, that's enough. Don't do this kind of thing that you don't have confidence in. Yang Ming said decisively, "I suggest that our next goal is to analyze the nutrient solution secreted by the swift cicada goo and find a way to breed and replace it in batches. Before we find a way to replace it, we can't just randomly eat the Herculean venomous insect. Isn't this a joke? Without the nutrient solution, we can only wait for death. I think it's better to let Elder Yu eat the Herculean venomous insect." Yang Ming is right, we can't be reckless. Lin Dongfang nodded and agreed, "Since we've been waiting for so long, a few more days won't make a difference. Let's study it a little more, maybe we can find a replacement for the nutrient solution." I agree with Yang Ming too. Lu Tianqi said, "We've already achieved unimaginable results, a few more days won't make a difference. Let's study the composition of the nutrient solution first. It's best not to do such a risky thing. We need to play it safe." Lin Dongfang and Lu Tianqi had the same point of view. The others were Yang Ming's team members, so they followed Yang Ming's lead. Since everyone had decided, the next step was to study the nutrient solution secreted by the swift cicada goo, so everyone was busy again, but everyone's hearts were full of confidence. Before Yang Ming came, everyone had lost their confidence. But now, not only was the research on the Jin Gang Gu successful, but the Herculean venomous insect was also successful. The only problem was the nutrient solution. Elder Yu still didn't know that Yang Ming and others had achieved such a significant result. He thought that they hadn't found anything yet, so he still sent them some daily necessities every once in a while. He didn't even show up, only sending a subordinate to deliver things to Yang Ming. As for the research progress, he was too lazy to ask. Chapter 2145. There had been no progress for so many years. It had only been half a year. Could there be any results? Elder Yu didn't believe it. Therefore, he still did what he should do. He didn't care much about the research progress of Yang Ming and others in the Medicine Valley at all. After the research of Yang Ming, Lu Tianqi, Lan Ling, and others, they found that the liquid secreted by the quick cicada goo was actually a kind of goo poison. If there was a large amount, it could cause dementia. Only when the amount was just right could it be used as a nutrient for the Herculean goo. In other words, this nutrient liquid could not be eaten casually. It could not be eaten too much or too little. It could only be eaten just enough every time to maintain the activity of the Herculean goo in the body. Otherwise, it would either become an idiot or be devoured by the Herculean goo. This was a breakthrough research development, but this development was not very helpful to everyone. The reason was very simple. Everyone still did not dare to try the Herculean goo. Who dared to eat this kind of goo poison? In the following days, everyone's research focus was still on the nutrient liquid of the Herculean goo. The amount of nutrient liquid secreted by the quick cicada goo was not only small, but it also had great side effects. It could not be taken too much at a time. This brought great inconvenience to the user of the Herculean goo. This was because if he could only take a small amount of the nutrient solution, that was to say, he could only let the Herculean venomous worm take effect once to 5 times. After that, his entire body would be paralyzed and limp on the ground without a trace of strength. This was a fatal flaw in battle. If the nutrient liquid was suddenly used up while fighting with the enemy, and the activity of the Herculean goo was gone, then he could only become a paralyzed person lying on the ground. Wasn't that waiting to be killed by the enemy? Therefore, this nutrient liquid was quite undesirable. They couldn't drink the nutrient liquid in the middle of a battle, right? Moreover, after everyone's research, they found that after the nutrient liquid left the main body of the quick cicada goo, if it was not with the main body of the quick cicada goo, then it would lose its activity after dozens of hours, and the nutrient liquid would lose its effect. In this way, the difficulty of taking it increased. Who could use a dropper to extract a little of the quick cicada goo's nutrient liquid during a battle? Firstly, he didn't have the time. Secondly, if he was attacked by the enemy during the extraction process, wouldn't he be done for? If the swift cicada goo's vessel was broken and the swift cicada goo escaped, then the person who was hit by the Herculean goo could only wait for death. Such a dangerous thing was simply not feasible. Thus, everyone's research direction was to find other nutrient fluids to replace the nutrient fluids secreted by the fast cicada goo. However, even though they were all experienced experts, it was still extremely difficult for them to find the nutrient solution. This was because the liquid secreted by the quick cicada goo was an active liquid. It was similar to another type of goo poison. It was not something that could be replaced by ordinary medicinal liquid. Furthermore, there was no way to analyze the composition of the liquid secreted by the quick cicada goo. This was a liquid that was similar to goo poison. How could there be any components to analyze? Therefore, under such circumstances, it was basically equivalent to everyone's experiments coming to a halt. Everyone simply wasn't in a hurry to study it. They temporarily stopped and slowly looked for a replacement for the nutrient solution. They wanted to see if there was anything that could have the same effect as this nutrient solution. While everyone was looking for a replacement for the nutrient solution, there were two good news in the Medicine Valley. That was, Xiao Susu and Yi were both pregnant. Yang Ming, Xia Shui, and Lan Ling discussed for a while. They didn't want a child for the time being. They planned to talk about it when they went back. After all, Yang Ming and Lan Ling were the main forces in the study of voodoo. If Lan Ling was pregnant, it was impossible to study these things. Xia Shui and Lan Ling were not pregnant, so she couldn't be special. Therefore, the two of them discussed that they would talk about it after returning to Songjiang City. When Lin Dongfang heard that Yi was pregnant, he couldn't stop smiling. In addition to studying voodoo every day, he studied how to adjust Yi and Susu's body. Then, he thought about what name to give to his grandson. Although Lu Yezi and Yi both felt that it was a bit too early to study this, after all, she was just pregnant. She didn't even know if it was a boy or a girl. How could she study the naming problem? However, Lin Dongfang was happy about it, and no one could disturb his mood. Regarding Xiao Susu and Yi's pregnancy, it was naturally impossible to hide it from Elder Yu because Yang Ming wanted to ask Elder Yu for some necessities for pregnant women. Elder Yu didn't feel that there was anything wrong with this matter. He didn't seem to care at all. In his opinion, Yang Ming and the others could do whatever they wanted in the Medicine Valley. It had nothing to do with him whether they had children or not. What he cared about was the Jin Gang voodoo. As long as they didn't refine the Jin Gang voodoo, these people wouldn't be able to leave the Medicine Valley. However, in order to appease Yang Ming and the others so that they could study the Herculean voodoo with peace of mind, Elder Yu sent some people to deliver some necessities for pregnant women. At the same time, he also sent some nutritional supplements for Yi and Susu. Whatever Elder Yu gave, Yang Ming naturally wanted it. He didn't refuse it, and he gratefully said to the people sent by Elder Yu that he would try his best to study the Jin Gang voodoo as soon as possible. Regarding this, Elder Yu didn't believe it. He knew Yang Ming too well. This kid would definitely play tricks when he had the chance. But in the current situation, Elder Yu was confident that Yang Ming couldn't play any tricks. In the Medicine Valley, it was almost impossible to get out without the help of modern machinery. Unless it was those people who had the ability to fly and walk on walls. However, those people usually didn't show up. They were almost isolated from the secular world, so Elder Yu wasn't worried about this. With the appearance of two expectant mothers, the Medicine Valley also became lively. Every day, everyone only spent the morning studying the nutrient replacement for the Herculean voodoo. In the afternoon, Yang Ming would bring everyone to the jungles and streams in the Medicine Valley to pick some fresh fruits for them to eat. As for Lan Ling and Xia Shui, they curiously asked Yi and Susu about their experiences and feelings of pregnancy. They had to go through this step in the future. At this time, when they saw others pregnant, they naturally wouldn't let go of the opportunity to ask for advice. Originally, the days passed peacefully, but one day, Yang Ming found a strange spring. This was the furthest place from where Yang Ming lived in the Medicine Valley. It was almost from the edge of one diameter to the other. If they continued forward, they would reach the end of the medicinal valley. It was behind a huge mountain. Chapter 2146. And the location of that strange mountain spring was directly behind this mountain. In the past, no one had come to such a faraway location, but because they wanted to find a substitute for the nutrient solution, they had no choice but to travel further and further. They ate all the exotic flowers and herbs in the Medicine Valley to try the method of preparing the nutrient solution. However, most of the exotic flowers and herbs in the Medicine Valley were tried, but there was still no solution. None of the exotic flowers and herbs could keep the vigor goo active. For the time being, it seemed that the nutrient solution of the swift cicada goo could not be replaced. Although there was an electric scooter in the Medicine Valley, because of the size of the Medicine Valley, even if they took an electric scooter, it would take a day to reach the end. And this was without stopping. After all, the speed of the electric scooter was not fast. It was just the most ordinary electric scooter. It could not be compared with a car at all, and it could not be compared with a hybrid car that used electricity. So this time, everyone went to the edge of the Medicine Valley to find a substitute for the Vigor Goo. They simply treated it as a trip. They drove 2 electric scooters, one driven by Yang Ming, and the other driven by Lu Yezi. They saw a lot of scenery along the way. At night, they slept in the car or on the ground in the open. They had a lot of fun. Anyway, it was spring all year round here. The climate was pleasant, so they did not have to worry about catching a cold. Everyone was an expert in biology. They had their own means of repelling mosquitoes, so they did not have to worry about being bitten by mosquitoes. The end of the Medicine Valley is in front. Lu Tianqi introduced to Yang Ming, "We only came here once when we first came to the Medicine Valley. After that, we never came here again because of the remote location and the lack of rare herbs, so we never came here again. What is behind this mountain?" Yang Ming pointed to the steep mountain wall and asked. "Behind this mountain is not the boundary of Miaojiang. In fact, we are now out of the boundary of Miaojiang. Behind this mountain, I heard that there is a small mountain village called West Star Mountain Village. However, the villagers there have never climbed over this mountain. The back of this mountain is too steep. If you fall, you will fall to your death. Moreover, there are many wild beasts on the mountain. We often come here and can pick up the corpses of the wild beasts that fell to their deaths. Look over there. Isn't there a wild boar that fell down, and it is still fresh? Our lunch is here." Lin Dongfang smiled and pointed at something not far away. "So that's how it is." Yang Ming nodded. "If there's no signal here, is there no signal in West Star Mountain Village?" "It's possible. There are no cell phone base stations here, but there should be satellite phones. However, in that kind of small town, how many people can afford satellite phones?" Lin Dongfang smiled and said, "In fact, I've only heard about it. I haven't even seen it once in my life." Yang Ming used his special ability, and through the mountain, he saw a small village on the opposite side of the mountain. The village was not very prosperous, and every family relied on farming for a living. There were also some hunters who hunted in the mountain, but they were all near the foot of the mountain. This mountain was really too high, and no one would go deep into the mountain. It was too dangerous. There were also more beasts on this mountain. Yang Ming withdrew his special ability. Even if he knew that there was a small town on the opposite side, it was useless. Yang Ming sighed and turned to look at Lu Tianqi. "This Medicine Valley is surrounded by mountains. There is no gap or anything. Can we get out?" Yang Ming knew that Lu Tianqi and Lin Dongfang had probably checked around several times in the beginning and didn't find a way out, but he still couldn't help but ask with some unwillingness. "Yes, there are cliffs on all sides. This is a natural valley. If you don't use a modern helicopter or lifting equipment, it is impossible to go up," Lu Tianqi said, "unless there is a legendary martial arts master who can leap onto the roof and walk on the wall. Then if we take the Herculean voodoo, isn't it equivalent to being a martial arts master?" Yang Ming said with a smile, "If we have extraordinary strength, we can hook our claws into the stone wall of the cliff, and then we can go up step by step, right? What's the difference between this and a martial arts master?" "That's true. If we also take the Jin Gang voodoo, then we will become inferior to swords and spears. It is similar to the legendary Golden Bell Iron Mantle in the martial arts world. We also have the Iron Sand Palm and Jin Gang Finger, so we are really no different from those martial arts masters." Lu Yezi also nodded and said, "These two voodoo are really good things. After eating them, we will become masters." "Good things, do you dare to eat them?" Yang Ming smiled bitterly and asked, "The Jin Gang voodoo is better. After you eat the Herculean voodoo, let's see what you can do in the future." "Og, hee hee." Lu Yezi laughed twice and said, "Am I not just saying it casually? But when we find a nutrient replacement for the quick cicada voodoo, can't we take the Herculean voodoo? That depends on what the replacement is and whether it can be mass-produced and carried around. Otherwise, there will still be problems." Yang Ming considered it more thoroughly. "This is also true." Lu Yezi nodded. "Today, let's roast the wild boar here, right? Tomorrow, let's go to other places. You guys eat, I don't want to eat." Yi and Susu frowned when they heard the roast wild boar. They were pregnant and already had some reactions, so they couldn't eat greasy things. They only liked to eat some light fruits and the like. Fortunately, there was no lack of these in the Medicine Valley. There were all kinds of fruits, so the two of them didn't have to worry about not having anything to eat. "And, no problem. I will help you pick some fruits," said Lu Yezi. "I will go and pick up some dry wood and prepare to start a fire," said Feng Tianlong. "I will go and get some water. There seems to be a spring over there." Yang Ming's eyes could see further. He immediately saw a small spring next to the mountain wall not far away. Each of them had their own division of labor, so they were busy all of a sudden. However, when Yang Ming walked towards the spring, he found that the color of the spring water was not transparent and clear, but a color that was close to blue. This made Yang Ming feel very strange, and he didn't dare to act rashly. In the wild, things couldn't be eaten indiscriminately, and water couldn't be drunk indiscriminately. No one knew if there were any special substances in this blue water, so after Yang Ming pondered for a while, he decided to take some back for everyone to see. Yang Ming filled a container with a little spring water. The water in the container looked even more blue under the sunlight. Chapter 2147. Looking at the light blue spring water in the container, Yang Ming frowned. Why is this spring water so weird? As for tasting it, he definitely didn't dare to taste it now. If there was any toxicity, then he would be done for. At this time, Feng Tianlong had already gotten some dry firewood, and Lu Yezi had also gotten a lot of fruits. Lin Dongfang and Lu Tianqi were cleaning up the wild boar. When the four of them saw Yang Ming coming back with only a small amount of water in his hand, they were stunned. "Bro, how can you get so little water for us to eat? Can't you get more?" Lu Yezi asked, puzzled. "It's not that I don't want to get more. Look at this water. There seems to be a problem." As Yang Ming spoke, he walked over and put the water container in his hand on the ground in front of Lin Dongfang and others. "Ha!" Lin Dongfang glanced at the container that Yang Ming put on the ground and was suddenly stunned. He had been here for so long, but he had never seen blue spring water in the Medicine Valley, so it was very strange at this time. Lu Tianqi was the same. He lowered his head and carefully looked at the spring water that Yang Ming brought over. After a while, he said, "This water is blue. There should be some unknown substance in it. Let's not drink it. It's better to test it now. Let's eat first." Yang Ming suggested, "Isn't there a lot of drinking water in the car? It's fine if we don't use this water. There's no hurry, right?" "That's fine too. Let's eat first." Lin Dongfang nodded because it was indeed time to eat. Everyone was hungry. After working for a long time, it was indeed a little overdraft, so Lin Dongfang also nodded in agreement. "Okay." Lu Tianqi first put the container aside, then walked to the car. He was going to get some drinking water to wash the wild boar and fruits. Everyone was ready for a good meal. Every day, everyone was self-reliant, so soon, the food was ready and everyone started eating. Because there was still the task of testing the spring water later, everyone did not drink. After a quick bite to fill their stomachs, they stood up and prepared to study the spring water. Now, whenever a strange thing was discovered in the medicinal valley, everyone would be very excited, because this thing could possibly replace the nutrient liquid secreted by the swift cicada goo. Although he had the quick cicada goo with him at all times, as long as he took the risk and consumed the vigor goo, it was still a solution. However, this method was too dangerous. Moreover, long-term consumption of the swift cicada goo's secreted nutrient fluid could easily cause one to become mentally retarded. Therefore, Yang Ming firmly disagreed with everyone using this Herculean goo. The side effects were too great and completely uncontrollable. Most of the experimental equipment was in the back of the car because every time they found exotic flowers and herbs, they would do experiments on the spot. It was too troublesome to return to the experimental base, so it was more convenient to come here at any time. Soon, the spring water was placed on a temporary test bench, and everyone got busy. Yang Ming couldn't help much with this kind of technical work, so he just stood aside and waited for the result. When he was bored, he would chat with Lan Ling and Xia Shui. We set off in May. In the blink of an eye, it's the end of the year. It's New Year's Day soon. Half a year passed really quickly. Xia Shui sighed and said, "At that time, the situation on the plane with you and Huang Lele is still vivid in my mind. Now, I am married to you and have become your wife. I don't know what will happen to Qin Mengyan when she goes back. Yeah, time is like this. It always slips away inadvertently." Yang Ming nodded and said, "But for the two of us, it can be considered as a matter of course. In the past, we actually had some difficulties, and we had some good feelings for each other. If there wasn't this mission, then we may be close friends in the future, but I don't know if we can develop into a couple relationship. However, this mission brought you and me together. It can be considered as God's will. In the past, I actually liked you a little, but because of Qin Mengyan and the others, I couldn't get over it in my heart. Here, we are separated from the secular world, so I don't have so many thoughts." Xia Shui said, "In my opinion, we can't go out for a lifetime. After all, Brother Lin and Brother Lu have studied Jin Gang Voodoo for decades without any results. After we come here, how can there be any progress? Moreover, I married you because I had no choice. It was to cure the voodoo. But who would have thought that our research speed would advance by leaps and bounds? In the blink of an eye, we are at the final stage. Once we find a substitute for the nutrient solution, then we can fight to the death with Elder Yu. And the time for us to leave the Medicine Valley is not far." "Why? Do you regret it?" Yang Ming asked with a smile. "I don't regret it, but I am a little nervous. In the past, I didn't think about anything. Now, I am thinking about whether Meng Yan and the others will accept me if we go out." Xia Shui said with some hesitation. "Some things have to be explained sooner or later. This time when we go back, I also plan to confess to Meng Yan. Lele's matter can't be hidden forever, right? This time when we go back, I have decided to tell the truth." Yang Ming said. "Ah." Xia Shui didn't expect Yang Ming to have already made a decision. But thinking about it, with Lan Ling's help and a bunch of supporting characters, Meng Yan wouldn't blame her alone. Moreover, her union with Yang Ming was completely under this special environment and situation, isolated from the world. Moreover, she was poisoned with voodoo, so she married Yang Ming. Meng Yan should be able to understand, but this time when we go back, how should I face my senior, Dong Jun? This had always been a difficult thing in Yang Ming's heart. To be honest, Yang Ming had a lot of feelings for Dong Jun. When he was apprenticed to Fang Tian and became the king of assassins, Dong Jun helped him a lot. He even got some dummies for him to practice flying needles. However, Dong Jun betrayed him and his master. How should Yang Ming deal with him? All along, Yang Ming didn't quite believe that these things were done by Dong Jun. He always deceived himself and told himself that those were coincidences. In fact, it had nothing to do with Dong Jun. However, unfortunately, this matter was confirmed by Elder Yu. Therefore, Yang Ming really didn't know what to do. He was a very nostalgic person. As long as the people around him didn't do something that crossed Yang Ming's bottom line, Yang Ming would generally forgive them. Dong Jun's actions were exactly near Yang Ming's bottom line. Chapter 2148. Yang Ming's bottom line was not to cause harm to his friends and family. Dong Jun's behavior was precisely to bring harm to Yang Ming's family and friends, but he did not succeed. Therefore, Yang Ming had always had an indescribable helplessness toward him. Although Yang Ming knew that his own indecisiveness was not the style to do great things, Fang Tian also said that this was his strength and also his weakness. An assassin, it was not good to be too ruthless, and it was not good to be too affectionate. Yang Ming just happened to achieve the combination of both. He was very ruthless to the enemy, but he was very kind to his own people. However, Dong Jun was a person who was between his own people and his enemy. It could be said that Yang Ming could have today's achievements because of Dong Jun's contributions. Although he secretly harmed Yang Ming, he also helped Yang Ming a lot. Therefore, Yang Ming really had a difficult choice for his own senior brother. Many things could be decided with a single thought. The more he considered, the more Yang Ming was unable to make a decision. Dong Jun, is he your senior brother who has repeatedly hurt you? Xia Shui also heard this name. Yang Ming mentioned it when he was dueling with Elder Yu. However, this was a private matter of Yang Ming's sect. Xia Shui did not ask again after that. After all, Xia Shui had no right to speak about this kind of thing. And, it's him. Tell me, how should I deal with him? Yang Ming couldn't make up his mind, so he discussed with Xia Shui and Lan Ling to listen to their suggestions. However, Lan Ling and Xia Shui obviously did not have any suggestions. Both of them were not familiar with Dong Jun. Moreover, for this kind of thing, it was not good for them to influence Yang Ming's thoughts, so Xia Shui said, Yang Ming, in fact, you have already made a decision in your heart, haven't you? Your hesitation actually explains this point. You want to make this decision, but you feel that it's not right. But if you persist, then you will realize that things are actually very simple. Ah. Yang Ming nodded with a smile, yes, you're right. In fact, as long as I calm down and think carefully, I've already made a decision. My senior brother, I'll give him one more chance. I hope he can cherish this one chance. This is also the last chance I'm giving him. If he can take the initiative to give me a reasonable explanation, then I'll let him go. Otherwise, I have no other choice. Xia Shui silently shrugged and didn't say anything. At this time, it wasn't suitable to interfere with Yang Ming. It was better to let him make his own decision. Let's go over and see if Brother Lu and the others have any results. Yang Ming stood up and walked towards Lu Tianqi, Lin Dongfang, and the others. He wanted to see if there was any progress in their research on the spring water. Xia Shui and Lan Ling also breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, they didn't like Yang Ming's sadness. Those worries were better left for when they returned. Thinking about it now, it was a little too early. Brother Lin, Brother Lu, is there any result? Is there anything special about this spring water? Yang Ming walked over and asked. Yes. Lin Dongfang said straightforwardly, in this spring water, there is a kind of microorganism. It is somewhat similar to the nutrients secreted by the quick cicada goo. Doesn't that mean that this spring water may be able to replace the nutrient of the quick cicada goo? Yang Ming suddenly said with some surprise. It's hard to say whether it can be replaced now, but the activity of the microorganism in this spring water is a bit poor. In just a short while, many of them died. The survival conditions are a bit too harsh, right? We didn't do anything, just put it in the container, and the activity disappeared little by little. It feels like it is very fragile. Lu Tianqi shook his head and said with a bitter smile. Oh. The activity is so poor. Then, have you tested whether it can be used on the vigor goo? Yang Ming asked. This hasn't been tested yet, but I am going to get some more spring water to see if the activity of this spring water is so poor, or because it is put in the container and doesn't meet certain conditions, the activity is getting worse and worse. Lu Tianqi said. Then, should I get some more spring water? Yang Ming asked quickly. That's not necessary. Let's go to the spring water and study it together. It is better to grasp the survival conditions of these goo poisons. As Lu Tianqi said, he moved the suggested test bench to the car and prepared to go to the spring water to test it. Yang Ming nodded and began to help. He quickly put away the equipment and the few of them drove the electric scooter to the spring water. Lu Tianqi got some fresh spring water from the strange spring water, then put it on the test equipment and began to analyze it. However, the results of the analysis were beyond his expectations. In this fresh spring water, the activity of the microorganism is very high. It can be described as abnormally active. It is completely different from the previous one. Lu Tianqi said in surprise. Then, what does this mean? Could it be that the previous spring water lost its activity because it was left for too long? Asked Yang Ming. If we infer according to this situation, it should be because of some reason that the spring water you got before slowly lost its activity. Lu Tianqi said, but as for the reason, it is not certain. It may be that it has been for a long time, or it may be under the sun, or it may be that the previous container is not clean, etc. In short, it is not easy to determine the real reason why this spring water has lost its activity. We have to take a look first. Okay. Yang Ming nodded. Just tell me what you need me to do. Don't be polite. Hee, there is nothing for the time being. Just observe. Lin Dongfang suddenly exclaimed again. The microorganisms in these spring water actually began to die in batches and gradually lose their activity. It is the same on my side. Lu Tianqi also exclaimed. The microorganisms in my spring water are also dying in batches. What is the reason? I don't know. Could it be that they can't see the sun? That's not right. Although the spring is now in a cool place, it will definitely be exposed to the sun in the morning. It can't be caused by the sun. Lin Dongfang said to himself, could it be that the containers are not hygienic? It is possible. Let's change to the disinfected containers and be careful. Then, we will get some spring water to observe first. Lu Tianqi nodded and said. Okay, I will get the disinfected sanitary containers. As Lin Dongfang said this, he took a few disinfected sanitary containers from the electric scooter. Chapter 2149. Then, together with Lu Tianqi, they took some spring water from the edge of the spring mouth and then began to observe the spring water again. In the beginning, the spring water was very active, and there was almost no change. However, as time passed, about an hour later, the spring water began to slowly lose its activity. Everyone's inference was somewhat reasonable. The disinfected sanitary ware slowed down the loss of the spring water's activity a lot. It was not as fast as before, but the activity of the microorganisms in it was still disappearing. It should be related to the sanitary ware, but it had little to do with it. Perhaps it is because the microorganisms here can't survive after leaving the environment of the spring water itself. This is the only explanation. Lin Dongfang said, otherwise, there may be a way to keep the spring water active, but there is no need to study it now. Next, we should test whether this spring water has the effect of stimulating and maintaining the activity of the Hercules voodoo. Yes, next, we should test the Hercules voodoo. Lu Tianqi also nodded and said, otherwise, it is useless for us to study this thing. Even if it can maintain the activity, it is just a kind of self-entertainment research. It has no help for our research of the Hercules voodoo. For the experiment of the Hercules voodoo, everyone was more familiar with it. Soon, with the help of Yang Ming and others, the petri dishes of the Hercules voodoo were obtained. Then, Lu Tianqi and Lin Dongfang began to add fresh spring water and spring water that had lost its activity to different petri dishes of the Hercules voodoo. The result was obvious. It made everyone excited and helpless. Fresh spring water could maintain the high activity of the Hercules voodoo. It was almost the same as the nutrient liquids secreted by the quick cicada voodoo. Now, it seemed that there was not much difference. Spring water that had lost its activity had no effect on the Herculean venomous goo at all. In a Herculean venomous goo vessel without any nutrient solution, the newly cultivated Herculean venomous goo died very quickly. In other words, only fresh spring water with activity had the same effect as the nutrient solution secreted by the quick cicada goo. But spring water without activity was like ordinary spring water and had no effect on the Herculean venomous goo. Now we can basically confirm that this spring water has an effect on the Herculean venomous insect. But whether it can maintain the Herculean venomous insect's activity like the swift cicada venomous insect secretion, we need to do further experiments. Lin Dongfang bitterly smiled, but this spring water is very troublesome, it can't be taken away. It can't be taken away. Once it is taken out, it will lose its activity, so even if it has an effect on the Herculean venomous insect, we need to find a way to preserve it. No matter what, let's give it a try first. If it really has an effect on the Herculean venomous insect, then there is a lot of spring water. It is much more than the nutrient solution secreted by the rare quick cicada venomous insect, so it is easier to do experiments. Yang Ming said. That's true, there is a lot of spring water. We are not afraid of wasting it. Lin Dongfang nodded and said, now, the next step is to find some animals to experiment with and see if this spring water is effective on animals that have taken the Herculean venomous insect. And then let's experiment as soon as possible, said Yang Ming. In the next few days, Lin Dongfang, Lu Tianqi, and others were experimenting with the spring water on small animals that had taken the Herculean venomous insect. The result was exactly the same as the nutrient solution secreted by the quick cicada venomous insect. There was no difference at all. As long as the Herculean venomous insect in the body was not activated, the small animals that had taken the spring water seemed to be able to survive. However, once the Herculean venomous insect in the body was activated, they would instantly become weak and collapse to the ground. If they did not continue to take the spring water immediately, then these small animals would gradually die. However, if they took the spring water, they would recover to their original state. From this, it could also be determined that the effect of this spring water and the nutrient solution secreted by the quick cicada venomous insect were almost the same. The remaining problem now was whether this spring water had any side effects and how to preserve it. Therefore, Lin Dongfang, Lu Tianqi, and others once again found a number of white mice and began to experiment. After giving the spring water to them separately, they checked whether these white mice would become slow or have their IQ declined after a while. However, after a period of observation, they did not find such a situation, so everyone was relieved. This spring water was much safer than the nutrient solution secreted by the quick cicada venomous insect. At least, it did not bring the side effects of dementia and memory decline. However, even so, everyone did not dare to take the Herculean venomous insect easily. After all, this spring water could not be taken away. It could only be taken here. Once the spring water was taken out, it would gradually lose its activity. After all the microorganisms in it died, it would become no different from normal spring water. As a result, how to preserve the spring water had become a difficult problem. Therefore, during this time, everyone began to study the preservation method of the spring water. However, no matter what method was used, it could not guarantee the activity of the spring water. Whether it was freezing or thermal insulation, it was not possible. As for using other potions, not only could it not maintain the activity of these microorganisms, but no matter what potion was added to the spring water, these microorganisms would die instantly. This made it difficult for everyone. The nutrient solution of the quick cicada venomous insect not only had side effects, but it was also extremely inconvenient to carry around. As for this spring water, although there were no side effects, it was not a problem of inconvenience to carry around. It was simply impossible to carry around. Both of these had major flaws. No matter which one, it was not something that everyone dared to try at the moment. No. There is really no other way. Lu Tianqi put the spring water in his hand on the test bench and said helplessly, "This spring water can't be measured with common sense. The microorganisms in this spring water have never been seen before. It is an unknown species. I have looked up a lot of information, but I can't name this microorganism. It seems that this microorganism is very similar to a kind of voodoo, but this kind of voodoo has no side effects, but it has a special effect of nourishing some voodoo." During this time, Lin Dongfang was also reading a large number of medical ancient books. Fortunately, the computer system here, although it could not communicate with the outside world's network, Elder Yu would regularly send people to update the database for some academic books and documents. Chapter 2150. This was also to make it easier for them to research the Vidragu. Who would have thought that they would use it for other purposes? There's no other way. Lin Dongfang said with a wry smile, "There's no mention of these things in the ancient medical books, but I've read about a special kind of wood in an ancient book. It said that a container made from this wood can be used to preserve some herbs, so that these herbs can be kept fresh and not lose their medicinal properties. I don't know if this kind of wooden container has any effect on this strange spring water." "What kind of wood?" Lu Tianqi asked. It didn't say specifically, but thinking about it, even if we know, this medicine valley may not have such a thing. It's hard to say if this kind of thing from hundreds of thousands of years ago still exists now. Also, it's a strange story, not a formal medical book. It's hard to say if there is such a thing. Lin Dongfang said with a bitter smile. If that's the case. Lu Tianqi was a little disappointed. It seems that there is no other way. I suggest that we don't waste time on this. It's meaningless. This kind of spring water is similar to the nutrients secreted by the quick cicada voodoo. One can't leave the main body of the voodoo for too long, and the other can't leave the place where the spring water is. If you leave, it will gradually lose its vitality. After studying for so long, it's still in vain. There is no progress at all. It's really frustrating. Lin Dongfang smiled bitterly and said, "But there is no other way. This Herculean voodoo is too strange. It is already very good to have the current progress." "That's true." Lu Tianqi said, "At least we know two alternative possibilities. At that time, even if we mistakenly take the Herculean voodoo, we won't be in the dark waiting for death. What do we do next? Continue to study the substitute of the Herculean voodoo nutrient fluid?" Lin Dongfang said to everyone with some disappointment, "We should also study the next thing. At this point, the entire Medicine Valley has basically been explored. It won't be so easy to find a substitute, yeah, unless we are researching a compound potion and adding multiple herbs together, we may be able to find a substitute, but the experiment process is too complicated, and the success rate of the experiment is less than 1 in 1,000. Lu Tianqi said, instead of wasting time like this, it is better to do something else meaningful. Then, does that mean we can't consume the Herculean venomous worm? Lu Yezi was a little disappointed when he heard this. The Herculean voodoo that he had painstakingly researched could not be used in the end. No one would be too happy about this. It's not that it can't be used, but the risk is very high. Lin Dongfang smiled bitterly. At present, under such circumstances, who would dare to take it? After taking it, you have to be prepared to settle down in the Medicine Valley for a long time. You guys are still young. Why don't an old man like me take it and live here forever? Big brother Lin, before there is no other way, there is no need to mention such a risky method again. I will not agree to it. Yang Ming waved his hand. Right, since there is a simplified version of the Jin Gang Gu, the normal Jin Gang Gu can be changed into a simplified version of the Jin Gang Gu. Then, can the Titan Gu be changed into a simplified version of the Titan Gu? Even if it's not as powerful as before, wouldn't it be a good thing if the side effects are removed? Lan Ling suddenly suggested after hesitating for a moment. Ha! That's a good idea. Yang Ming couldn't help but nod after listening. Ling Ling is right. Since we can develop a simplified version of the Vajra voodoo, can't we develop a simplified version of the Vigor voodoo? Yeah. Why didn't I think of it before? Lu Tianqi also stood up with some excitement. We only thought about how to find a replacement for the nutrient liquids secreted by the quick cicada goo, but we didn't think about studying and simplifying the Titan goo itself. If we can make the Titan goo break away from the nutrient liquid, even if it won't be as powerful as before, with a few of us attacking together, it should be quite powerful. Lin Dongfang also nodded and said, this is a good research direction. Previously, we went down the wrong path and were only thinking about research alternatives to the nutrient solution. It was all thanks to sister-in-law Lan Ling's suggestion. She really woke us up from our dream. She grew up studying voodoo from a young age. How can she be the same as us, who started halfway? Lu Tianqi smiled and said, we are still lacking some experience. Otherwise, why did the Jin Gang Gu that we couldn't succeed in for decades succeed after sister-in-law Lan Ling and the others came? Lan Ling was a little embarrassed by these praises. I just had a flash of inspiration. I'm not as good as you said. You don't have to praise me like this. I'm not used to it. But it's normal to praise. What Lan Ling said happened to be timely help and solved our current confusion. Yang Ming nodded and said. Since there was a new research direction, everyone was busy again. As for the simplified version of the Titan Gu, there was no need to study it here. They could go directly back to the laboratory. So, everyone ended their half-month trip and began to prepare to return to the laboratory from the edge of the Medicine Valley. Yi and Susu were pregnant, so the two of them couldn't come into contact with some bacterial research for the time being. The two of them now had to take care of the fetus. Looking at the two's bulging bellies, Xia Shui and Lan Ling felt strange and envious. You are going to be mothers soon. How do you feel? How can I feel, oh? Xiao Susu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The child hasn't been born yet. I'm just an expectant mother, yeah. It's really strange. I'm actually going to be a mother. Yi was still a little unprepared. After all, she was more innocent than others. She felt a little unaccustomed to suddenly becoming a mother. Why? Are you too envious? When we go back this time, I'll let you be mothers too. Yang Ming heard the conversation between the two and came over and said. Haha, okay. Lon Ling nodded without hesitation. When we go back this time, I also want to be a mother. I'll wait. Xia Shui felt that she was still very young. She wasn't too anxious. At this time, Lin Dongfang, Lu Tianqi, and the others also finished today's research. Lin Dongfang came over and checked the pulse of Su and Yi to check the condition of the fetus. Chapter 2151. Every few days, Lin Dongfang would check on their physical condition. With Lin Dongfang, the miracle doctor, there was no need to worry about anything happening to them. How is it? Is there any problem? Feng Tianlong and Lu Yezi were very nervous. No. Lin Dongfang shook his head, but now I can tell if it's a boy or a girl. Do you want to hear it? Lin Dongfang could tell the gender of the fetus just by feeling the pulse. It was quite a skill. Ah. You can tell. Feng Tianlong was a little nervous. After all, someone had told them that their child would be a girl. If it was a girl, she would inherit Xiao Susu's body constitution and would not be able to escape the curse of not being able to live past 20 years old. But if it was a boy, there would be no such situation. So at this moment, Feng Tianlong and Xiao Susu were very nervous as they looked at Lin Dongfang. Yes, I can tell now. Do you want to hear it? Lin Dongfang asked. Then. Mr. Lin, please tell me. Xiao Susu hesitated and said first, is it a girl? Hee, it seems that you have felt it yourself. That's right, it's a girl. Lin Dongfang nodded and said, you said that the child will inherit your body constitution. I am not sure about this, but I can't solve your current body constitution yet, it's okay. I have thought it through. But I still hope that Mr. Lin can take care of my daughter's illness. Xiao Susu said helplessly. Don't worry about this. With our relationship, your problem is my problem. I will do my best. Lin Dongfang nodded and said. Indeed, Lin Dongfang would do his best to help Xiao Susu solve her problem. That was to cure her daughter's illness. But Lin Dongfang could not guarantee that. After all, Xiao Susu's body constitution was stranger than the poison. He did not have a solution yet. Then. What about Yi? After Lin Dongfang and Xiao Susu finished talking, Lu Yezi asked nervously. Yi is a boy. Lin Dongfang said, that is confirmed. Boy. It's not bad. Susu is a girl and Yi is a boy. I think it's not bad for us to have a child betrothal. We can be a couple. Lu Yezi said with a smile. This. Lu Yezi's words suddenly made Xiao Susu's face change slightly. She hesitated for a moment, but still said seriously, Lu Yezi, don't mention this matter again. My daughter's physique may also have a problem. Isn't it the same as harming your son? Do you want him to suffer like Sky Dragon? This. Lu Yezi just said it casually. In fact, he didn't really expect to get engaged. After all, the child hadn't been born yet. Everything was uncertain. It was just a joke, but he didn't expect Xiao Susu to have such a big reaction. This made Lu Yezi very apologetic. He didn't mean to joke, but it touched the most vulnerable part of Xiao Susu's heart. Lu Yezi quickly remedied, it's okay. This way, my father-in-law can study the treatment method. It's more convenient. It had to be said that Lu Yezi's words made Xiao Susu very tempted. If her daughter really became a couple with Lu Yezi's son, then Lin Dongfang would definitely try his best to treat her daughter in the future. However, it was fine if she was cured. Everyone would be happy. But what if it couldn't be cured? If she still couldn't escape the fate of dying at the age of 20, wasn't it equivalent to harming Lu Yezi's child? This was not what Xiao Susu wanted to see. Not to mention that Lu Yezi was her teammate and her good friend. Even if he wasn't, Xiao Susu didn't want her tragedy to repeat on her daughter. Let's talk about this later. Feng Tianlong sighed and said, after this mission is over, I am going to temporarily resign from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau's Secret Service team. I want to take Susu on a honeymoon and travel around the world, spend the last time with her, then in the future. Yang Ming heard Feng Tianlong's words and couldn't help but feel sad. In the future, I might return to work in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. At that time, I might change departments. Who knows, let's talk about it when the time comes. Feng Tianlong's words were filled with helplessness. If even Lin Dongfang couldn't do anything about it, then there was definitely nothing he could do. Moreover, the mysterious fortune-telling Taoist said that the opportunity to change fate wasn't with Susu, but with their daughter. Their daughter might be able to change the curse of fate in the future. However, whether it was true or not, Feng Tianlong wasn't sure. After all, the fortune-teller's words had no basis. That's good. Yang Ming said, after I go back, I might have to live in seclusion. However, this is nothing. This period of time is the happiest period for me and Susu. Feng Tianlong said, we are very happy to be with everyone every day. As for our daughter, I want her to be a normal person and live happily. I don't want her to know her fate too early. Alright, then I won't force you. Let's leave everything to fate. We'll meet again in the future. Lu Yezi nodded and said. The research was still ongoing. The Herculean worm's nutrient solution wasn't easy to replace, but it wasn't too difficult to make the Herculean worm live without its strong vitality. Whether it was Lin Dongfang or Lu Tianqi, they had the experience of simplifying the Jin Gang worm, so it was easy for them to simplify the Herculean worm now. In less than a week, the simplified version of the Herculean worm was made. This Herculean worm only had 1/10 of the original Herculean worm's effect, but it didn't have to worry about the lack of nutrient solution. This was because this simplified version of the Herculean worm could be nourished with normal food. In other words, as long as everyone ate normal food, the Herculean worm wouldn't die. It was just that after using the Herculean worm, they had to eat a big meal. However, this wasn't a big deal. There was food everywhere and there weren't any specific restrictions. Therefore, this simplified version of the Herculean worm had almost no side effects. Even if you were a normal person and did a lot of physical work, you still had to eat more food to replenish your energy. What was the difference between this and the simplified version of the Herculean worm? The only downside was that the effect of the simplified version of the Herculean venomous worm was too weak. The maximum effect it could exert was only 1/10 of the original effect. Chapter 2152. In this way, the use of the Herculean strength venomous worm was weakened a lot. The people who took the Herculean strength venomous worm were only about the same as those who practiced Iron Palm and Iron Fist martial arts. However, this was also something that couldn't be helped because Lin Dongfang and Lu Tianqi had done their best. This simplified version of the Herculean strength venomous worm was at a critical point. If it was more powerful, it couldn't be nourished with ordinary food. It needed other nutrients to nourish it. Therefore, there was no other way. They could only maintain the Herculean strength venomous worm at this critical point. If the strength was a little weaker, they could only do so. In this way, the Herculean strength venomous worm can't be the nemesis of the Jin Gang venomous worm. Yang Ming couldn't help but feel a little regretful when he heard this result. I don't know if this Herculean strength venomous worm can still deal with Elder Yu. This is really hard to say. Lon Ling looked at the simplified version of the Herculean strength venomous worm and frowned. If the few of us work together, there should be a chance. But Yi and Susu obviously can't. The two of them are pregnant. If they take the Herculean strength venomous worm, I'm afraid something unexpected will happen. That's true. Lin Dongfang nodded and said, now, the only ones left who can take the Herculean strength venomous worm are me, Yang Ming, Lu Tianqi, Feng Tianlong, and Lu Yezi. But the number of Jin Gang venomous worms is limited. If we don't take the Jin Gang venomous worm and only take the Herculean strength venomous worm, I'm afraid we won't be Elder Yu's opponent. That's true. Lon Ling nodded and said, but there is no other way. Although the Jin Gang venomous worm is only a defensive type of venomous worm, it can make the body of the person who takes it extremely hard, just like practicing the Golden Bell Shield. However, if this hard body is used as a weapon, such as punching you with a fist, even if he doesn't take the Herculean strength venomous worm, ordinary people won't be able to withstand it. Yeah, it's like hitting a person with a hammer. Even if it's not a lot of strength, ordinary people can't bear it. Lu Tianqi also explained, and Elder Yu's fist is like a hard hammer, smashing on our bodies. If we don't have the Jin Gang Gu to resist, it would be like hitting a rock with an egg. We would definitely suffer serious injuries. This is an important question. Yang Ming said, in that case, only the three of us who have consumed the Jin Gang Gu can go to battle. The others, for safety reasons, shouldn't go to battle. That's right, the Gu poison has been successfully refined. Who is going to fight the enemy? Lu Yezi was a little eager to give it a try. Count me in. I'll go up against the enemy, kill them all, defeat Elder Yu, and then take Yi to travel around the world. Oh. I'm definitely going to take it. Yang Ming said without hesitation, after all, I'm the captain, and I'm stronger than the others, so I have to go. As for the other 2 portions of the Jin Gang Gu, I suggest that one portion be given to Lu Yezi, and the other portion be given to Brother Lu Tianqi or Brother Lin Dongfang. Why not me? Feng Tianlong was stunned and suddenly asked. We can do it, but you can't. Yang Ming shook his head, because you have Su. Ah. But, Lu Yezi has Yi, you have Xia Shui and Lon Ling, and Brother Lu Tianqi also has sister-in-law Xiao Jing. Only Mr. Lin is alone. Why can't I, but can't Lu Yezi? Feng Tianlong asked puzzledly. Because Susu's situation is different from others. This battle is very dangerous. You know Susu's body. You don't want the child to be an orphan after birth, right? As for us, there are 2 of us. So, you absolutely can't. Yang Ming said firmly, this is an order. Yes. Feng Tianlong still wanted to say something, but when he heard Yang Ming say that this was an order, he could only lower his head and give up trying to persuade Yang Ming. Because Yang Ming was the captain of the team, Feng Tianlong had to obey his words as a member. I think it's better for me to take it. I'm alone, so I have an advantage over Tianqi. Lin Dongfang laughed and said, as the saying goes, brothers fight, and father and son go into battle. Lu Yezi and I can be considered father and son, so this matter is settled. The 3 of us will take the Jin Gang Gu and Titan Gu. Yang Ming pondered for a moment and nodded. He agreed with Lin Dongfang's proposal. Lu Tianqi was a scholar. It was fine for him to do research, but it was difficult for him to fight with Elder Yu. And Lin Dongfang, although he was also doing medical research, he usually laughed and joked around. His body was much stronger than Lu Yezi, so it was also a good choice to let Lin Dongfang fight. And Lin Dongfang's meaning was very obvious. He wanted to protect Lu Yezi. In an emergency, he would protect Lu Yezi first. After all, he didn't want Yi to be a widow and Yi's child would be fatherless. So, Yang Ming also agreed with this decision. As for Yang Ming himself, he didn't need anyone to protect him. As long as he was careful, there would be no problem. Yang Ming's body was still very agile and fast, especially with the butterfly microsteps. he could dodge many of Elder Yu's attacks. In fact, Elder Yu was just a powerful ordinary person. He didn't have any fighting skills, so Yang Ming wasn't afraid of him. At most, he couldn't beat him. Would he be able to take his life? Moreover, Elder Yu had the Jin Gang Gu to protect him, and so did Yang Ming. So Yang Ming just had to be careful. There should be no other problems. Okay, then it's decided. I will take one, Lu Yezi will take one, and Brother Lin will take one. Yang Ming nodded and said, then after we get used to it for a few days, we will wait for Elder Yu to come here, and we will take him down in one fell swoop. Okay, then take it now, said Lu Yezi. So, the three of them carefully prepared to start taking the simplified version of the Vigor Voodoo and the complete version of the Vajra Voodoo. Of course, Lin Dongfang took it first. After Lin Dongfang took it and there was no abnormality, Wang Ming and Lu Yezi took it. Originally, Yang Ming wanted to do the experiment first, but Lin Dongfang didn't agree. After all, Lin Dongfang was alone, but Lu Yezi and Yang Ming were dragging their families, so they were in a deadlock. Yang Ming could only let Lin Dongfang take it first. Moreover, Lin Dongfang himself said that he was a doctor. He knew his own body best. If there was any abnormality after taking it, he could detect it immediately. Chapter 2153. The two apprentices, Lu Yezi and Yang Ming, were worse than him, so it was better for him to take it. Seeing Lin Dongfang pick up the simplified version of the Herculean Voodoo and take it first, Yang Ming and others were nervous. After all, the simplified version of the Herculean Voodoo had only been tested on animals before, and it had never been used on real people. Therefore, no one knew if there would be any adverse reactions after Lin Dongfang took it. He was the first person to take the Herculean Voodoo. However, everything seemed to be daunting but not dangerous. After Lin Dongfang took the Herculean Voodoo, there were no adverse reactions. He was just like a normal person, but his strength was much greater. However, even if his strength was much greater, it did not reach the legendary level of Herculean. Lin Dongfang's strength was only slightly greater than a normal person's. He could shatter a rock with a single punch or pierce through a steel plate with a single punch. However, this strength was far weaker than the legendary Herculean venomous insect. After the legendary Herculean Voodoo was taken, one could smash a piece of iron into iron pieces with one punch, but Lin Dongfang obviously couldn't do this. I think breaking such a big rock is my limit. Lin Dongfang shook his aching hand and helplessly said, breaking this rock is already very difficult, I won't be able to deal with a rock that is a bit harder or bigger. What Lin Dongfang had just broken was a stone about 10 centimeters in length and width. It could be seen that he had already spent a lot of effort. He only broke this stone after a few punches. It could be said that this strength was only similar to those martial artists who specialized in practicing hand martial arts. Compared to those more powerful masters who specialized in iron palm or Jin Gang finger, it was far worse. At this level, it should be difficult to deal with Elder Yu. Even if it is an incomplete version of the Jin Gang Voodoo, the hope is slim. Yang Ming had seen the power of Elder Yu's Jin Gang Voodoo. He personally attacked Elder Yu and knew the strength of Elder Yu's body, so when he saw Lin Dongfang's strength at this time, he shook his head. Although Lin Dongfang's strength was obviously greater than Yang Ming, it was obvious that he only reached the strength of Feng Tianlong. According to Feng Tianlong himself, he only practiced one of his family's internal strength techniques, and he was only a beginner, but he could reach this level. In other words, after Lin Dongfang took the simplified version of the Herculean Voodoo, he was only the same as Feng Tianlong. Didn't that mean that the simplified version of the Herculean Voodoo was very ordinary? Now it seemed that the simplified version of the Herculean Voodoo was not even 1/10 of the original version of the Herculean Voodoo. What? Lu Yezi was also a little conflicted. Oh. After all, this was the result of everyone's research for so long. Now, after taking it, the effect was not very obvious. This made everyone very disappointed. They didn't know how to proceed with the next step. At present, there are only these few paths to take. First, continue to look for substitutes for the nutrient solution, and then take the unsimplified version of the Herculean voodoo. Yang Ming said, but this path should not work. We have almost gone to all corners of the Medicine Valley, but we have not found a substitute for the nutrient solution or spring water secreted by the quick cicada voodoo. These two nutrient solutions have no long-term preservation method, so it is definitely not possible. Everyone nodded after listening, waiting for Yang Ming to say the next path. Second, we continue to study the simplified version of the Herculean voodoo, and strive to create a simplified version that is more powerful than the current simplified version. Yang Ming continued, however, this path is obviously very feasible. After all, we have put in a lot of effort to study the simplified version of the Herculean voodoo. In the end, we developed this simplified version of the Herculean voodoo that does not need nutrient solutions and is close to the critical value. If it is a little stronger, it will not be able to leave the nutrient solution. This is not wrong. I am a researcher, I have the most right to speak. Lu Tianqi nodded and said, the situation is indeed so. The simplified version of the Herculean voodoo is already the limit. Just like the simplified version of the Jin Gang voodoo by Elder Yu, it is not as powerful as the Jin Gang voodoo itself, but it was improved by Elder Yu in another way. The blood used by Elder Yu for sacrificial refining is actually a disguised nutrient solution. It seems that this is not possible, then there is only the third path left. Yang Ming sighed and said, the third path is for us to fight with Elder Yu. Otherwise, it will be a waste of our long and difficult research. But, what if we lose? Asked Lu Yezi. If we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. We have nothing to lose. Yang Ming smiled slightly and said, we have taken the complete version of the Jin Gang voodoo. It is not so easy for Elder Yu to kill us. Even if we can't win against him, he may not be able to win against us. This is true, but I don't know if he has other trump cards. Lin Dongfang nodded and said. It doesn't matter if he has. We have taken the complete version of the Jin Gang voodoo. We have eaten the Jin Gang voodoo. Elder Yu doesn't have it even if he wants it. So, if he wants to take the complete version of the Jin Gang voodoo, he must keep us and let us continue to develop it for him. Otherwise, even if he kills us, he can't get the Jin Gang voodoo. Yang Ming smiled and said, it can be seen that Elder Yu still cares about the complete version of the Jin Gang voodoo, otherwise, he would not be so good to us. Think about it. If you lock up your enemy, and you still provide them with good food and drink every day. You provide whatever they need. What will you feel? If you don't need the help of these enemies, you won't do this. That's right. Lin Dongfang nodded and said, in that case, we could try to fight with Elder Yu. But before that, we should test the power of the complete version of the Jin Gang voodoo next. Said Yang Ming. Let me do this. Lin Dongfang nodded and said, anyway, I will test it alone. Last time, it was me. This time, it is me too. Because Lin Dongfang did not have any abnormalities after taking the Herculean voodoo before, he did not have any psychological pressure when taking the Jin Gang voodoo this time. Lin Dongfang easily took the Jin Gang voodoo, and then waited for the Jin Gang voodoo to take effect. Chapter 2154. And this time, fortunately, after a few days, the Jin Gang goo also took effect. Between it and Herculean strength goo, the two did not seem to conflict. Because Lin Dongfang did not show any signs of adverse reactions, it was certain that the complete version of the Vidra voodoo would not bring any side effects to the body. At the same time, Lin Dongfang's body also began to become extremely hard and invulnerable. It was like cultivating golden bell shield and iron cloth. It was like wearing a layer of armor. Whether it was a hammer or a knife, it could not bring the slightest harm to Lin Dongfang's body. This was very similar to the situation of Elder Yu that Yang Ming saw previously. It was just that Elder Yu's was an incomplete version of Jin Ganggu. The incomplete version of Jin Ganggu was already so powerful, and the complete version of Jin Ganggu was naturally even more powerful. How is it? Everyone, study me first. Only if you can break the Jin Ganggu on me can you deal with Elder Yu. Lin Dongfang said, look at me, hitting myself is useless. As he spoke, Lin Dongfang was like a gorilla, pounding his chest with his hands. Did you use your maximum strength? Asked Yang Ming. This is already my maximum strength. I have now exerted the power of Herculean strength Gu to the extreme, but it still did not cause any harm to myself. Lin Dongfang said, I don't feel any pain at all. So, the incomplete version of Herculean strength Gu is still too weak. Yang Ming was a little disappointed. Even if the three of us work together to deal with Elder Yu, we may not be Elder Yu's opponent. However, the only fortunate thing is that Elder Yu's own is an incomplete version of the Vajra Gu. If we use the incomplete version of the Herculean Vajra Gu, we should still have hope of dealing with the incomplete version of the Vajra Gu. Lu Tianqi said, but what I know is that the incomplete version of Jin Ganggu that we refined is much worse than the complete version of Jin Ganggu in terms of time and effect. But although Elder Yu's sacrificial refining is an incomplete version of Jin Ganggu, after his modification, I don't know how much more powerful it is than the previous incomplete version of Jin Ganggu. This is something we don't know. What I know is that the current incomplete version of Jin Ganggu of Elder Yu has a time limit, but other functions are different from the complete version of Jin Ganggu. I don't know how big the difference is. After all, I did not use Herculean strength Gu at that time. With my strength, I can't do anything to Elder Yu. My punches on him, it was almost like I didn't punch, said Yang Ming. This matter is uncertain. Lin Dongfang sighed and said, it would be good if we can find the flaw of Jin Ganggu. From what I see, Jin Ganggu should have a certain flaw. It should be written in the secret book of refining the Gu poison, but Elder Yu didn't show us this part. That's right. That's right. In my memory, the Vajra Gu also seemed to have some flaws. Just like the Herculean Gu, this kind of heaven-defying voodoo poison would definitely have some flaws. However, the Vajra Gu's secret manual was a top secret enshrined in our Blue Meow village. Even my grandfather and grandmother weren't allowed to look at it. That's why I never saw it. Lon Ling said with some regret. Otherwise, if we knew the flaws of the Vajra Gu, we wouldn't have to spend so much effort to test the Herculean Gu. I thought of something. Yang Ming suddenly said, I feel that this Jin Ganggu is like the external martial arts that some martial artists cultivate. For example, Golden Bell Shield. That's true, there are some similarities. Feng Tianlong nodded and said, the effect of Jin Ganggu is similar to the external martial arts Golden Bell Shield. That's right, I want to talk about Golden Bell Shield. Yang Ming nodded and said, I once met a person who cultivated Golden Bell Shield, but he didn't master it. There was a weak point in his body. Although the rest of his body was extremely hard and invulnerable, the weak point was the weakest part. As long as you hit the weak point, then you can break the Golden Bell Shield. Back then, I used this method to break the Golden Bell Shield. Otherwise, even if I died of exhaustion, I wouldn't be able to beat that Golden Bell Shield cultivator. You mean, the Jin Ganggu might also have a weak point? Lin Dongfang asked, but I didn't find a weak point in the Jin Gang Gu. How did you find the weak point of the Golden Bell Shield? I found it with my X-ray vision. Yang Ming said, I used my X-ray vision to scan the Golden Bell Shield cultivator's entire body. I found a part of the body that was obviously different from other parts of the body. From this, I can deduce that it should be the weak point. Then what about me? Why don't you scan me too and see if I have a weak point? Lin Dongfang quickly said. That's what I was thinking. Yang Ming nodded and said, I'll scan and see. Brother Lin, stand there and don't move. Okay. Lin Dongfang quickly nodded. Yang Ming used his X-ray vision and began to scan Lin Dongfang's body. However, the result of the scan made Yang Ming very disappointed. Lin Dongfang's appearance was the same. There was no difference. Yang Ming also used the same method to scan Elder Yu, but he didn't find any flaws. However, Yang Ming was in a hurry and didn't scan too carefully, so it was possible to miss something. But this time was different. This time, Lin Dongfang stood here and let Yang Ming scan him. This way, it was impossible to miss anything. Yang Ming was somewhat unwilling. He scanned again from top to bottom. The result still made him very disappointed. There was no abnormality in Lin Dongfang's body. In other words, at least for Yang Ming, he didn't find the weakness of Jin Gang Gu. How is it? Seeing that Yang Ming's expression was not very good, Lin Dongfang also realized something. No, I didn't find any flaws and weak points. Yang Ming shook his head helplessly. I can't do anything. I can only try again in the experiment to see if I can find any flaws. If I can find other flaws, I believe that Jin Gang Gu will be effective against Elder Yu, but if I can't find any, there is really no other way. In the next few days, Yang Ming, Lu Yi, Lin Dongfang, and others were looking for the flaws of Jin Gang Gu, but unfortunately, no matter how they tested, Lin Dongfang was in an invincible state. They couldn't do anything to him at all. Chapter 2155. Lin Dongfang was like a steel Superman. Yang Ming, Lu Yezi, and Feng Tianlong changed many attacking methods, but they couldn't hurt Lin Dongfang. Therefore, after everyone's experiment, the conclusion was that Lin Dongfang had no flaws. It was impossible to hurt Lin Dongfang with ordinary methods. It still doesn't work. We can't find any flaws. Yang Ming sighed. His and Feng Tianlong's attack power was not low, but they couldn't do anything to Lin Dongfang. In other words, under normal circumstances, they couldn't hurt Lin Dongfang. They could only give up on finding flaws. Now we can only pin our hopes on Elder Yu's Jin Gang Gu not being as powerful as Brother Lin's Jin Gang Gu. Lon Ling said helplessly, I have seen the simplified version of Jin Gang Gu's formula. In theory, it is much weaker than Jin Gang Gu, that is to say, there is still hope for our simplified version of Herculean Gu. Lu Yezi asked with some surprise. This is hard to say. After all, I have seen the simplified version of Jin Gang Gu formula made by Brother Lin and Brother Lu. But the Jin Gang Gu used by Elder Yu is the evil Jin Gang Gu that he modified himself. As for how he modified it, what it looked like, and the power after the modification, these are all unknown. So whether we have hope and chance of winning still depends on luck. Lon Ling shook her head and explained. But one thing is certain now. The simplified version of the Herculean venomous worm and the complete version of the Vajra venomous worm will not have any adverse effects on our bodies. They should not affect our health. Yang Ming said, otherwise, Brother Lin would have had adverse effects after taking it for so many days. That's true. Lin Dongfang nodded and said, I don't feel any adverse effects. There should be no problem. Since Lin Dongfang had no problems after taking it, the others were naturally ready to start taking it. There were only 2 complete versions of the Jin Gang Gu left, so Yang Ming took one and Lu Yezi took the other. As for the incomplete version of the Herculean Voodoo, Yang Ming and Lu Yezi each took one. As for Feng Tianlong, not taking the incomplete version of the Herculean Voodoo was almost the same as taking the incomplete version of the Herculean Voodoo, so he didn't need to take it. Moreover, he wasn't going to participate in the battle, so it wouldn't be of any use to him even if he consumed it. On the contrary, it might even cause some hidden dangers to his body. Although according to the current observation, the incomplete version of the Herculean Voodoo had no effect on the human body, who knew what would happen in the future? Therefore, it was best not to consume it if possible. After Yang Ming and Lu Yezi took the incomplete version of the Herculean Voodoo and the complete version of the Jin Gang Voodoo, the 3 of them began to practice their joint attacks. Because the effect of the incomplete version of the Herculean Voodoo was weaker, the best effect could be achieved when everyone cooperated with each other. Although Lin Dongfang was not very good at fighting, with Yang Ming as an instructor, everything was not a problem. Yang Ming was originally an assassin, so he was very good at some offensive knowledge. While waiting for Elder Yu to appear, Yang Ming created a few sets of joint attack fist techniques and prepared to attack Elder Yu. Now, everything was ready, and only one thing was missing. While everyone was training every day, they were waiting for the arrival of Elder Yu. Finally, one day, the sound of a helicopter's propeller sounded in the sky of the Medicine Valley, and with the landing of a helicopter, Elder Yu sent people to deliver food to Yang Ming and others. Wait a minute. Lu Tianqi stopped Elder Yu's subordinate who was delivering the things to them. What's the matter? Elder Yu's subordinate was taken aback. In the past, when he delivered things, he basically left after putting them down. Yang Ming and others would not talk to him much, unless there was something special, but they would write it on a piece of paper and let him bring it back to buy or find. This time, Elder Yu's subordinate saw that there was no note in Lu Tianqi's hand, so he was a little puzzled. You go back and help me tell Elder Yu that there is a breakthrough in the Jin Gang Voodoo. Let him come and take a look. Lu Tianqi said. Oh. There is progress. Elder Yu's subordinate was taken aback, and he couldn't react for a while. After all, in his opinion, there was no progress for so long, so he basically didn't have much hope. He just habitually delivered things to Yang Ming and others every time, and then left. But this time, there was progress. But immediately, this subordinate reacted and was overjoyed. He quickly asked, there is progress in the Jin Gang Voodoo. Is your research successful? It's almost done. There are some things to discuss with Elder Yu. Lu Tianqi nodded and said. Okay, I will go and tell Elder Yu. The subordinate nodded again and again, then excitedly boarded the helicopter and quickly left the Medicine Valley. In fact, every time Elder Yu's people came to deliver things, Yang Ming had a chance to kill them, then snatch their helicopter and escape from the Medicine Valley, but Yang Ming did not do so. Yang Ming's purpose here was to deal with Elder Yu, not to escape. If he returned without success, wouldn't it be a wasted trip? As for Elder Yu, he thought that Yang Ming and others were poisoned by his voodoo and had not been cured, so he did not set up defenses because he knew that Yang Ming and others could not escape, so he only sent his subordinates to deliver things every time. What's more, the fuel tank in the helicopter was not full. Even if Yang Ming seized the helicopter, he couldn't fly far. He absolutely couldn't fly out of the range of Miaojiang. The subordinate hurriedly went back to report, and Yang Ming's side also quickly made arrangements. All unrelated people, hide in the laboratory, especially Feng Tianlong and brother Lu Tianqi. You have to protect the others, especially Su Su and Yi. These two are pregnant women, you have to be careful. Yang Ming instructed Feng Tianlong. In a while, no matter what happens, you have to protect yourselves. Don't come out and get involved, understand? Understood. Feng Tianlong nodded and replied immediately. He also knew what Yang Ming meant. Regardless of success or failure, he was not allowed to intervene. This was also a kind of protection for them. Okay, leave this to me, Brother Lin, and Lu Yezi. After Yang Ming finished arranging, he, Lin Dongfang, and Lu Yezi stood in the open space of the Medicine Valley, ready to fight. Because they knew that when the subordinate went back to report, Elder Yu would definitely come here as soon as he heard the news that Jin Gang Voodoo was about to be successfully refined. Chapter 2156. Sure enough, as Yang Ming expected, the subordinate told the good news to Elder Yu as soon as he returned. Elder Yu had been waiting for so many years. When he was about to lose his confidence, he was also very excited when he suddenly heard this good news. However, in addition to his excitement, Elder Yu calmed down again. If there were only Lin Dongfang and Lu Tianqi in the Medicine Valley, then he would not have thought too much about it. This was because Lin Dongfang and Lu Tianqi belonged to the academic category and did not have much hostility towards him. However, Yang Ming and the others were different. Yang Ming and the others came here with the purpose of dealing with him. Now, not only did they not succeed in dealing with him, but they were also captured by him in the Medicine Valley to study Jin Ganggu for him. Would they be willing to accept this? Even if they developed Jin Ganggu, would Yang Ming be willing to give it to him? Thinking of this, Elder Yu frowned and asked the subordinate, "What did they tell you when you went this time? Tell me the details at that time without missing a word." Yes. The subordinate did not know why Elder Yu asked in such detail, but he still repeated the situation at that time to Elder Yu and said, "Is there a problem?" "The problem? I can't see it for the time being." Elder Yu frowned and said, "It was actually Lu Tianqi who told you, not Yang Ming." "No, Yang Ming didn't say anything." The subordinate replied. "I can't see any problem with this." Elder Yu shook his head and said, "But I always feel that something is wrong. Isn't it a little too smooth? Isn't it good to be too smooth?" The subordinate asked, baffled. "It's good to be too smooth, but I always feel a little uneasy." Elder Yu said, "Help me analyze it. If you were Yang Ming, and you developed Jin Ganggu, would you tell me so smoothly and let me receive the fruits of your labor?" This. The underling also frowned and said, "This is really hard to say, but I think if I were Yang Ming, I wouldn't give you the Vidra voodoo that you researched so easily." "Oh. Why?" Elder Yu asked. "Yang Ming is here to deal with us. Would he work so hard to develop Jin Ganggu for us? It is a little impossible, right?" The underling said, "So, there are only these few possibilities. First, Yang Ming developed the Vidra voodoo, but he changed something in the Vidra voodoo. After Elder Yu takes it, you will be controlled by them. In this way, they will achieve their goal of dealing with you. This is unlikely." Elder Yu shook his head and said, "The formula of Vidra voodoo was passed down from ancient times. It is very difficult to change it. At that time, for this incomplete version of Vidra voodoo, they spent a lot of effort. Moreover, it was only with my cooperation that they made the change. With the strength of a few people, it is difficult to change it, right? Isn't there, Lon Ling?" Oh. The subordinate reminded. "And this is possible. Continue." Elder Yu nodded and said. Second, Yang Ming and the others did not develop Jin Ganggu, but they thought of a way to deal with Jin Ganggu, so they want to trick you to deal with you. The subordinate analyzed, "I think this is more likely." Continue." Elder Yu nodded faintly. "You are right. Jin Ganggu does have a weakness, but they don't know about this weakness, and it is impossible to find it. And even if they find it, they don't have the materials to make it. Third, I feel like they've developed that Herculean goo or something. I heard that Titan goo is the nemesis of Jean Gang goo. Maybe they want to use this to deal with you. That is impossible, right? Titan goo, with just the few of them. Elder, you didn't quite believe it. As far as I know, the flaw of Titan goo is even greater. It is not so easy to study. Or, they really developed Jean Gang goo, but they ate the Jean Gang goo themselves. In the end, the subordinate said, this is the most likely possibility. As long as they take the Vajra goo, they won't be afraid of you anymore. They want to fight it out with you, they take Jean Gang goo. Are they not afraid that I will not give them the antidote for the goo? Elder, you frowned and asked. Since they can develop Jean Gang goo, do you think they can't develop the super goo antidote pill? Maybe the goo poison in them has already been removed. The subordinate reminded again, don't ignore the little girl, Lan Ling. Yes. Although Lan Ling is young, her voodoo skills are not much worse than mine. She is just lacking in experience and maturity. In time, it is not a problem to surpass me. Elder, you nodded and said, so, they did develop Jean Gang goo, but they may have taken it themselves. My guess is so. The subordinate said. Okay, in that case, I will go and meet them. Elder, you nodded and said, you take care of the house. I will go by myself. This. Elder, you, since you know that they may have taken Jean Gang goo, then you still want to go? The subordinate asked with some concern. Just them. Ha 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 ha. Elder, you laughed a few times and said, without Jean Gang, I won't take the job. Their knowledge of Jean Gang goo is far less than mine. I have studied this Jean Gang goo for many years. Although I have not refined a stable version of Jean Gang goo, the test version of Jean Gang goo in my body has already been thoroughly studied by me. The man didn't say anything else. Since Elder you said so, it meant that Elder you had absolute confidence, so he just nodded and helped Elder you refuel the helicopter. He let Elder you board the helicopter. On the Medicine Valley side, Yang Ming and others were already prepared. Yang Ming closed his eyes quietly and suddenly said, Elder Yu is coming, but everyone has to be careful. Elder Yu seems to have found something. Oh. What do you mean? Lu Yezi asked quickly. Just now, when the subordinate flew the helicopter back, I kept watching him and saw him return to Elder Yu's residence. Yang Ming said, after returning, he and Elder Yu briefly analyzed this matter. Oh? What matter? Lu Yezi asked in surprise. It's about our successful refinement of Jean Gang goo. With that said, Yang Ming repeated what Elder Yu and the subordinate said to Lu Yezi and Lin Dongfang. Chapter 2157. Although this Elder Yu seems to be arrogant, he is not stupid. Lin Dongfang frowned and said, it seems that he came prepared. Moreover, what does his last sentence mean? What does he mean by not having Jean Gang to drill, and not taking the job? Our knowledge of Jean Gang goo is far less than his. He seems to mean that he knows the weakness of Jean Gang goo. Yang Ming guessed. It's very possible. In this case, we really have to be careful. Lin Dongfang nodded and said, it seems that this battle will not be as smooth as we thought. Yeah, I feel like we are at a disadvantage. Lu Yezi also said. Let's act according to the situation in a while. If it is impossible, don't force it. As long as there is life, there is hope. When the time comes, just compromise first. Yang Ming said. Yes, we have been waiting for so long. It doesn't matter if we wait a little longer. If we can't win, we will compromise. Lin Dongfang said in agreement. Lu Yezi was about to say something, but Yang Ming made a gesture, then pointed to the sky and said, "Elder Yu is here." "Oh?" Lin Dongfang and Lu Yezi immediately raised their vigilance. Sure enough, it didn't take long for them to hear the roar of a helicopter motor above their heads, and a helicopter gradually approached the valley. The helicopter slowly landed on the open space of the Medicine Valley, and Yang Ming and others did not intend to greet Elder Yu. Since the other party had already guessed their purpose, then there was no need to pretend. Moreover, if they pretended to greet Elder Yu at this moment, it would make Elder Yu even more suspicious. Because every time Elder Yu came here before, Yang Ming and others were not very enthusiastic. They all had a lack of interest. When Elder Yu asked, they all walked to the open space lazily and answered Elder Yu's words casually. They were not afraid or respectful to Elder Yu, just like a group of passive employees treating their boss. So this time, Yang Ming and the others still did the same. After the plane stopped, they slowly walked in the direction of the helicopter. This time, Elder Yu flew the helicopter by himself and didn't bring a pilot. When he parked the helicopter, he couldn't wait to get off the helicopter. When he saw Yang Ming, Lin Dongfang, and Lu Yezi, he was stunned. Because every time he reported the progress of the research results to him before, it was usually Lin Dongfang and Lu Tianqi. Later, Lan Ling came, at most Lan Ling would be added. Yang Ming and Lu Yezi were two martial artists in the eyes of Elder Yu. Why did they come with Lin Dongfang this time? What about the others? This strange situation immediately raised Elder Yu's vigilance. "I heard that you have finished researching Jin Ganggu. Is it true?" Elder Yu stood at the edge of the helicopter and did not walk towards Yang Ming and others. "It's almost done. There are still a few key questions left. Elder Yu, it's best for you to take a look at them personally," Lin Dongfang said. "Oh. Where is it? Then let's go and see it now." Elder Yu frowned and asked, "Where are the others?" "They are all in the research room. Let's go together," Lin Dongfang said. "If the research is successful this time, will the antidote be given to us?" Yang Ming suddenly stopped as if he was waiting for Elder Yu to come over and ask him. "That depends on the results of your research," Elder Yu said casually. However, as soon as Elder Yu's voice fell, Yang Ming, Lin Dongfang, and Lu Yezi attacked at the same time. The three of them used all their strength and attacked Elder Yu. Their only hope now was to give Elder Yu a surprise attack when he was not on guard. Because the incomplete version of Jin Ganggu on Elder Yu was an active skill and could not be activated in a passive situation. In other words, if Elder Yu did not take the initiative to activate Jin Ganggu, then his body would not be invulnerable and invincible. Therefore, the three of them hoped to take advantage of this time difference to take down Elder Yu. In this way, even if it was an incomplete version of the Herculean Divine Gu, they could defeat Elder Yu. Bang bang bang. 3 punches, the three of them hit Elder Yu almost at the same time. However, the three people's fists seemed to have hit a stone. Elder Yu seemed to have not suffered any damage at all. He still stood in the same place, motionless. "You." Yang Ming's face showed a horrified expression, but the movements of the three people did not stop. They quickly punched again and hit Elder Yu. Bang bang bang. 3 more punches, but Elder Yu still stood in the same place and did not suffer any damage. Ha 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 and ha ha ha. Elder Yu suddenly laughed wildly. "Sure enough, as I expected, you suddenly came to me this time, not because you have refined the Jin Ganggu, but because you have refined the Herculean Divine Gu. So what if you guessed it? You actually used the incomplete version of the Jin Ganggu in advance." Yang Ming was somewhat helpless about Elder Yu's cautiousness. Such a result was already obvious. Elder Yu had used the incomplete version of the Jin Ganggu on the way here in advance, so that Yang Ming and others' incomplete version of the Herculean Divine Gu could not work at all. Yang Ming, don't think that I don't know what you are thinking. You are just forced to stay here. Otherwise, would you listen to my orders? Elder Yu sneered. If I didn't prepare in advance, I would have fallen into your trap. However, if I didn't guess wrong, what you refined should be the incomplete version of the Herculean divine goo, right? This degree of attack is child's play to me, and there is no harm at all. You really underestimate the Jin Gang goo. So what? I just let you escape by luck. Yang Ming said coldly. Okay, I don't have time to play with you. I'm leaving. When you really study the Jin Gang goo, come to me again. As Elder Yu said, he was ready to return to the helicopter and leave the Medicine Valley. Who said that we didn't study the real Jin Gang goo? This time, we have indeed researched the Vidra voodoo, so I am looking for you. Yang Ming stopped Elder Yu and said. Have you figured it out? Elder Yu turned around and was taken aback. Yes, we did study it. Yang Ming nodded. At the same time, Yang Ming also secretly gave Lu Yezi and Lin Dongfang a wink. Since the first plan did not work, they were ready to start the second plan. Oh. Chapter 2158. You have really researched it. After Elder Yu listened to Yang Ming's words, he frowned. He didn't know whether what Yang Ming said was true or not, but he still stopped and asked. Of course it is true. Yang Ming said, since we can research the incomplete version of Herculean voodoo, we can naturally develop the complete version of Jin Gang voodoo. What is so strange about this? Oh. Where is it? Elder Yu asked suspiciously. It's here. Yang Ming was still standing lazily beside Elder Yu a moment ago, but the next moment, he grabbed Elder Yu. Lu Yezi and Lin Dongfang also made a move at the same time as Yang Ming. They also grabbed Elder Yu at the same time as Yang Ming. Their purpose was very simple. Since they couldn't win against Elder Yu, then they would forcibly control Elder Yu. Yang Ming and the others also had Jin Gang voodoo, so they were not afraid of Elder Yu. The three of them caught Elder Yu at the same time, but they did not hit him. They only used the strength of their bodies to prevent him from leaving. To put it bluntly, no one could do anything to each other, but Yang Ming and the other two had the advantage of numbers, so they could trap Elder Yu. In this way, as long as Elder Yu was controlled and not allowed to leave, then Elder Yu's incomplete version of Jin Gang voodoo would eventually fail. Once his incomplete version of Jin Gang voodoo failed, then Yang Ming and the others could kill Elder Yu together again. Because the incomplete version of Jin Gang voodoo had a time limit, and there was also a cooldown period in between, so it could not be used continuously. If Yang Ming and the others happened to take advantage of this opportunity to attack Elder Yu, then they had the confidence to win. What do you mean? Elder Yu was slightly stunned, but he was already controlled by Yang Ming and the others. Nothing, we just want to keep you here, said Yang Ming. Keep me here. I understand. You want to wait for my Jin Gang voodoo to fail, and then use the incomplete version of Herculean voodoo to deal with me, right? Elder Yu immediately guessed the plan of Yang Ming and the others. Yes, it seems that you are not stupid. Yang Ming nodded and said, I don't know if you can still resist our incomplete version of Jin Gang voodoo since you don't have the incomplete version of Herculean voodoo. You think too simply. Elder Yu sneered and slammed his hands toward Yang Ming. He said as he attacked, although I don't have the Herculean voodoo, my body is extremely hard. It is still easy to deal with ordinary people like you. If you don't want to be crippled by me, then put away your unrealistic thoughts. Following Elder Yu's words, his fist also hit Yang Ming's body. This punch obviously didn't use too much strength. He just wanted to teach Yang Ming a lesson. However, when he hit Yang Ming, it seemed to hit an iron block, making a muffled sound. Yang Ming was fine, which made Elder Yu a little puzzled. Although his hand didn't hurt, he could see that Yang Ming didn't feel the slightest pain. While this made Elder Yu puzzled, he also attacked again. He once again punched at Yang Ming. Boom! There was another muffled sound. Yang Ming was still fine, but Elder Yu had already used all his strength in this punch. This made Elder Yu puzzled, and at the same time, he also had doubts. Your body, haha, didn't I tell you? We developed the Jin Gang Voodoo, but this Jin Gang Voodoo was eaten by us. Yang Ming said with a smile, do you understand now? Although our incomplete version of Herculean Voodoo can't do anything to you, at the same time, you can't do anything to me. We all have the Jin Gang Voodoo. You can't do anything to me, and I can't do anything to you. But the three of us can exhaust you here until your Jin Gang Voodoo loses its effect. What, you ate the Jin Gang Voodoo? Elder Yu was shocked, and his face suddenly showed an angry expression. The three of you all ate the Jin Gang Voodoo. Sorry, it is true. Yang Ming nodded and said regretfully, and the complete version of the Jin Gang Voodoo is only enough for 3 people, and we ate them all. The purpose is to deal with you. You all. Elder Yu was furious. He didn't expect that Yang Ming and the others developed the Jin Gang Voodoo, but they ate it themselves. Why, we can't eat the things we developed ourselves? Yang Ming asked with a smile. Why you are pissing me off. Elder Yu was furious. Are you not afraid that I won't give you the antidote to the voodoo? Sorry, since we can refine the Jin Gang Voodoo, how do you know that we can't refine the Super Voodoo Antidote Pill? Yang Ming asked with a smile. Yang Ming did not mention that he had the Super Voodoo Antidote Pill before. Yang Ming, it turns out that you still haven't given up and have always wanted to deal with me. Elder Yu gritted his teeth in anger. So what? Now that you are in our hands, you can say whatever you want. Yang Ming said, the purpose of my trip is to deal with you. Do you think that I am here to study the Jin Gang Voodoo for you? Humph. Elder Yu suddenly snorted coldly. He waved his hand and threw Yang Ming, Lin Dongfang, and Lu Yezi to the ground. Yang Ming and the others were originally holding on to Elder Yu, but they were suddenly thrown off by him. They were stunned. Ignorant. Do you think that you are the same as me after taking the Jin Gang Voodoo? Do you think that the Jin Gang Voodoo has no flaws and loopholes? Elder Yu shook his shoulder that was sore from Yang Ming's grab, and then said, do you feel weak now? No strength at all. You, how did you do it? After being reminded by Elder Yu, Yang Ming suddenly discovered that his body did seem to be a little soft and had no strength. Yang Ming was horrified. No wonder Elder Yu could throw the 3 of them away with a casual swing of his hand. It turned out that the 3 of them had become weak unknowingly. The Jin Gang Voodoo naturally has flaws, but you don't know about it. Elder Yu looked down at Yang Ming and the others on the ground and said, the Jin Gang Voodoo will be ineffective in front of a specific powder. Before I came, I had already sprayed this powder on my body. Although I had already expected this possibility before, it was just a random guess. I didn't expect you guys to really research it. It seems that it is not wrong to be prepared. At the critical moment, it is really useful. Chapter 2159. So you were already prepared. Yang Ming sighed helplessly, but he was not surprised because before he left, Elder Yu said something very strange. I have been studying this Jin Gang Gu for many years. Although I have not refined a stable version of the Jin Gang Gu, I have already studied the test version of the Jin Gang Gu in my body thoroughly. Yang Ming did not understand this sentence at that time, but now, he understood Elder Yu's intention. It turned out that Elder Yu had already known the flaw of the Jin Gang Gu, and he was prepared in advance, so the Jin Gang Gu of Yang Ming, Lin Dongfang, and Lu Yezi lost their effectiveness. But why are you fine? Why is your Jin Gang Gu not losing its effectiveness? Lu Yezi asked unwillingly. This was what he found very strange. Since Elder Yu sprayed this powder on his body that could make the Jin Gang Gu lose its effectiveness, why was he not affected? Of course, mine did not lose its effectiveness. Elder Yu laughed and said, although my Vidra Voodoo is an incomplete version, after my improvement, I have already avoided this flaw. My original purpose for doing this was actually to prevent Lan Ling's grandmother and the people of Lan Miao village from knowing about this flaw, so I did my best to modify it. But now, it seems that they don't know about this matter. I didn't expect it to come in handy at this time. So that's how it is. Yang Ming was convinced of his loss this time. This time, he did not lose unjustly. Although he was prepared, the other party was also prepared. Elder Yu also said that no one knew more about the Jin Gang Gu than him. So, Yang Ming, you don't have to be delusional. With your strength, it is wishful thinking to deal with me. Elder Yu said, also, let me tell you some unfortunate news. Recently, I will upgrade my incomplete version of the Jin Gang Gu again. After the upgrade, my incomplete version of the Jin Gang Gu will also become a passive skill. Only when someone attacks me, my incomplete version of the Jin Gang Gu will automatically activate, and it can last longer. If you want to assassinate me or something, I advise you to give up on this idea. The only thing you have to do now is to refine a complete version of the Jin Gang Gu for me. That is impossible, there is no catalytic enzyme left. Yang Ming said, the catalytic enzyme you gave us has been used up. It was only enough for 3 people, and we used it all. Humph. In order to avoid this situation, I deliberately left some catalytic enzyme. This time, when you refine the complete version of the Jin Gang Gu, give it to me. I will add the catalytic enzyme myself, I don't need you. Elder Yu said. So, you plan to let us go? Yang Ming was a little surprised. He didn't expect Elder Yu's patience to be so good. This time, he didn't do anything to them. Controlling the few of you is as easy as flipping my hand. Your little tricks are nothing more than a joke in my eyes. Elder Yu sneered and said, I can completely control you. It doesn't matter if I let you go or not, because you can't escape from my palm. Since you are so powerful, why don't you turn your incomplete version of the Jin Gang Gu into a complete version? Yang Ming asked. In fact, he wanted to get more information from Elder Yu. My research direction is different from yours. I can only improve and perfect the foundation of the existing voodoo, but before you make it, I can't make it out of thin air. If you refine the complete version of the Jin Gang Gu, I can improve it and perfect this shortcoming. So that's how it is. Yang Ming nodded. You still believe us? Aren't you afraid that we will do something next time? Next time? Humph, with your little tricks, I really don't care. Elder Yu looked at Yang Ming mockingly and said, do you know? Yang Ming, you used to be my enemy, an opponent that gave me a headache. Now, you are actually an ant-like existence under my feet. I'm in control of your fates now, but if you're always obedient, I'll feel that it's meaningless. Life is too dull, but you find something for me to do, which makes me feel that it's quite fun. Really? Yang Ming asked. However, the winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. This is the truth that has never changed. Yang Ming now became Elder Yu's prisoner, and this time, he failed to reverse the situation, so Elder Yu was indeed qualified to say these words. If you still want to play next time, please play something more powerful. This is not challenging at all. Elder Yu said, okay, I won't talk nonsense with you. I am leaving. The medicinal properties of the powder will be automatically resolved after 3 days. I am not interested in configuring the antidote for you. Just take it as a 3-day break. After speaking, Elder Yu turned around and boarded the helicopter. In the roar of the engine motor, it slowly lifted off and left the Medicine Valley. Looking at the departure of Elder Yu, Yang Ming got up from the ground helplessly. He smiled bitterly at Lu Yezi and Lin Dongfang, who also got up with him. It seems that the plan we have prepared for a long time has failed. Let it be a failure. At most, we will start again. This time, it was just a small test. Lin Dongfang was very optimistic. However, Elder Yu also revealed a message, that is, he is getting more and more difficult to deal with. Yeah, I was thinking that when we were about to study the Jin Gang Voodoo, we would call him to study it with us. Then, we would secretly lurk around him and kill him when he was unprepared. But I didn't expect that he actually turned his incomplete version of Jin Gang Voodoo into a passive skill. Yang Ming really didn't know how to carry out the next step of the plan. But now it seems that it is impossible. That's true. His Jin Gang Voodoo has also become a passive skill. We have no way to start, said Lu Yezi. Now I am a little regretful. When I dealt with Elder Yu, I should have killed him directly at the first meeting. Yang Ming's face showed a regretful expression. Chapter 2160. At that time, I didn't know that his incomplete version of Jin Gang Gu still needed time to activate, so I talked to him for a long time. At that time, if I could have lurked beside him and directly made a move, there wouldn't have been so much trouble. Yang Ming was an assassin and was proficient in assassination. He believed that if he directly made a move at that time, the result would be different. But now, it was useless to think about this. At that time, how could Yang Ming think of passive and active skills? He only knew a little about Jin Gang Gu. But fortunately, you didn't kill him. Lin Dongfang smiled and comforted him. Oh. How so? Yang Ming asked with some doubts. If you directly killed Elder Yu at that time, what would you do? Would you go back directly to submit the mission? Lin Dongfang said, but in that case, Lu Tianqi and I would be trapped in the Medicine Valley forever, and we would never be able to get out. Ugh, that's true. Yang Ming couldn't help but nod. It seems that everything is fated. You are right. If I really killed Elder Yu at that time, then you might be trapped here for the rest of your life, and no one would know. I also found my love here, so it's not a loss. Lu Yezi said. You kid. Yang Ming scolded with a smile. Okay, let's study the next thing. It seems that our idea of using Jin Gang Gu to restrain Jin Gang Gu is not feasible. Elder Yu has the weakness of Jin Gang Gu. If we use Jin Gang Gu in front of him, we will be poisoned. Sigh, I miscalculated. I wasted so much time to study this. Lin Dongfang smiled bitterly. In the end, it was all for Elder Yu. This is also my fault. Thinking about it carefully, when Elder Yu said that sentence, he made a few strange gestures on his body. Now that I think about it, it should be the powder to deal with Jin Gang Gu, but I didn't think so much. Yang Ming said, here, one wrong step leads to many wrong steps. From the beginning, I was careless. How can you be blamed for this? None of us expected Elder Yu to have a trump card to deal with the Jin Gang Gu. If we had known earlier, we wouldn't have naively thought of using this move to deal with Elder Yu. Lin Dongfang waved his hand and said, okay, don't say these regretful words now. We should study what to do next. Do we really obediently refine the voodoo of Jin Gang Voodoo for Elder Yu? Yeah, let's study the next step of the plan. Lu Yezi also nodded. Things have come to this point. I'm a little unwilling. Now it seems that although Elder Yu Sacrificial refined an incomplete version of Jin Gang Voodoo, after his modification, there is only a time limit. The other functions are no different from the complete version of Jin Gang Voodoo, and it has also become a passive skill. In other words, we can no longer count on the incomplete version of Herculean Voodoo no matter what. Yang Ming said, as for the remaining method, I don't have to tell you. You should already know. You are talking about the complete version of Herculean Voodoo? Lin Dongfang asked. Yes. Yang Ming said, if there is no other way, I will take the complete version of Herculean Voodoo. Now it seems that this is the only way to deal with him. You eat it. How can that be? After you eat it, what will you do in the future? You can't stay here forever, right? Lu Yezi said anxiously, there are so many people at home waiting for you to go back. Boss, what are you talking about? Don't be impulsive. I am not being impulsive. Yang Ming waved his hand, motioning Lu Yezi to calm down, and then said, at present, we have used all the methods we can use. The only way left is this. If we don't deal with Elder Yu, then won't we be trapped here for the rest of our lives? What is the difference between that and not leaving here for the rest of our lives? If we refine the Jin Gang Voodoo and give it to Elder Yu, will he let us go? Lu Yezi asked after a moment of silence. In my experience, he won't. Lin Dongfang shook his head, Elder Yu probably won't kill us, but he won't let us go either. It seems that we can only fight. Lu Yezi sighed. Now he also agreed with Yang Ming's proposal, but we can take the Herculean Voodoo, but it can't be you. Or, I will take it. Isn't there still the quick cicada voodoo? There is no danger. Be careful in the future. Just take the quick cicada voodoo with you. It's not a big deal. Yang Ming said, moreover, Lan Ling is proficient in voodoo. It is more advantageous for me to take it than you. If there is a problem in the future, it will be easy to solve. No, this is too risky. If the quick cicada voodoo dies or runs away, won't you be in danger? Lu Yezi said, at most, I will stay here for the rest of my life. I will take it. I will take it. How could Yang Ming let his men take risks? He was a responsible person, so he naturally wouldn't do this. I will take it. Lu Yezi said. This is an order. Yang Ming said. I will resist once. Lu Yezi said. I say, are you two treating me as if I don't exist? Lin Dongfang said at this moment, why are you arguing here? Won't everything be fine if I take it? I am alone. When the time comes, I will just stay in this valley. You all have families. How can I let you take it? Brother Lin, you. Yang Ming also understood that Lin Dongfang's words were very reasonable. However, if he took it, although he wouldn't drag anyone down, how lonely would he be? How could he live without anyone in the future? Well, I have decided. Lin Dongfang said firmly, I will take it. Anyway, I don't have any family. I will just stay here when the time comes. Lu Yezi was Yang Ming's subordinate. Yang Ming could order him, but Lin Dongfang couldn't. Lin Dongfang was Yang Ming's elder brother. Yang Ming naturally had to respect his choice. No, I will discuss this matter with Yi. How can I let you stay here alone? Lu Yezi was firmly opposed. Not only him, but Yi also wouldn't agree if she knew. Yi, listen to me. You don't have to discuss with her. Lin Dongfang said, this matter is decided. How about this? Let's look again and see if there is anything that can replace the nutrient solution. If it really doesn't work, how about we take this risky step? Yang Ming mediated and said, anyway, we are not in a hurry. We have waited for so long. There is no hurry. Chapter 2161. What the boss said makes sense. We can look for it again. This way, it will be safer, right? Lu Yezi nodded in agreement and said, taking the complete version of the Hercules voodoo is the only way, so we must be more careful. That's fine too. Lin Dongfang nodded. After all, Yang Ming's suggestion was correct. Although everyone had looked for it before, they had to look for it again just to be safe. If there really was something that could replace the nutrient solution and spring water secreted by the quick cicada voodoo, they might be able to find it. However, Lin Dongfang still said, but we can decide who will take the Hercules voodoo. I think it's better for me to take it because I have an obvious advantage over you, this. Yang Ming and Lu Yezi looked at each other and smiled bitterly. It seemed that Lin Dongfang insisted on this. They had tried to persuade him for so long, but it was still useless. However, they were not in a hurry to study who would take it. The most important thing now was to find a substitute for the nutrient solution. So, in the next few days, everyone began their second trip to the Medicine Valley. They were still riding on the previous battery-powered car. This kind of battery-powered car was relatively common in various tourist attractions. It was convertible for tourists to enjoy the scenery. The speed of travel was also very slow. Yang Ming and others were like tourists who came to the Medicine Valley for a trip, but there was no driver or tour guide. They walked and stopped, wandering to every corner of the Medicine Valley, looking for a substitute for the Hercules voodoo. There was nothing to study now, so everyone completely treated this trip as a vacation. It was a good thing to find a substitute for the nutrient solution of the Hercules voodoo. If they couldn't find it, they wouldn't be too disappointed. After all, they didn't have much hope. It was just that this time, the search was more careful than the last time. Every time they arrived at a place, everyone would get off the car and search carefully. When the search was unsuccessful, everyone would take a photo and then go to the next place. They walked and stopped like this. Half of the journey took twice as long as the last time, but when everyone arrived at the location of the spring, they still didn't find any nutrient solution that could replace the Hercules voodoo. Thinking about it, to be able to find such a clear spring was already very good. Wanting to find another substitute was simply beyond difficult. When they were near the spring, Yang Ming sighed and said, "We're back here again. We didn't gain anything, this time. Do you still want to fight with me?" "Since there is no substitute, I will take it," Lin Dongfang said. Yang Ming and the others were silent. Among these people, one of them had to consume the Herculean insect. It was either Lin Dongfang, Yang Ming, Lu Yezi or Feng Tianlong. Anyway, it couldn't be anyone else. But these people were not alone. They all had wives. In fact, Xiao Susu didn't have long to live. She was the best candidate, but because Xiao Susu was pregnant, if she fought with Elder Yu, she was afraid that the child would be hurt. "It's better for me to take it. After that, I will just stay here. Isn't there a West Star Mountain village on the other side? At that time, I will go to live in that village. When I need to drink spring water, I can come and drink it at any time. There are also villagers there to accompany me. It won't be too lonely," Lin Dongfang said. This. Yi was a little reluctant and said, "Adoptive father, we are all gone. What about you? Why don't Lu Yezi and I accompany you here?" "Ha, Yi, you haven't seen much of the world. You still have to go to the outside world in the future. As for your adoptive father, I have been outside for the first half of my life. Now I want to rest. It's okay. I am here. If you miss me, you can come and see me at any time," Lin Dongfang said with a smile. But Yi still wanted to say something, but Lin Dongfang waved his hand and interrupted her words. "Okay, don't say it. Let's settle it like this," Lin Dongfang said. Yi was silent. she was a little reluctant and couldn't bear it. She looked at Lu Yezi, hoping that Lu Yezi could say a few words. How about this? When our child is born, we can let adoptive father help to take care of it. In this way, not only can we enjoy the two of us, but adoptive father won't be lonely. Lu Yezi thought of a way to get the best of both worlds. Ah, I see. Although was very simple, she was a little reluctant to leave the child behind. Since she was pregnant, she had been looking forward to the birth of the child. Her whole body exuded the glory of motherhood. At this time, she was reluctant to leave the child here. However, she also knew that what Lu Yezi said was the best way because Lu Yezi must have come from a bustling city. How could he bear to stay in this small mountain village? He also wanted to see the outside world. Therefore, this was the only feasible way. Ha! This is a good idea. You two go and play. I will take care of the child for you. I won't be lonely then. Lin Dongfang said with a smile. Then, it's decided then. Lu Yezi nodded and said, Today, are we going back or are we going to play here again? Let's play. The scenery here seems to be good. Yang Ming pointed to a place not far away and said, Moreover, we haven't been to that side last time. Although that side is full of mountains and cliffs, and there are no plants or streams, maybe there will be some new discoveries. Yang Ming and the others circled around one half of the medicinal valley, and the other half was full of cliffs and cliffs. There was no grass on that side, so Yang Ming and the others did not go there last time. When they came to the end of the medicinal valley, they went straight back. But this time, Yang Ming was going to go and take a look. Even if they did not find anything, it could be regarded as a trip. Anyway, time was not very tight. Alright, it's not bad to take photos over there, said Lu Yezi. So, after everyone rested at the spring for a night, the next morning, they went to the other side of the medicinal valley. This was a place where everyone had never been before, and the further they went, the harder it was to drive the car. Everyone's car was an electric car, not an off-road vehicle, so finally, they could no longer move forward in a place with a lot of sand and stones. Everyone could only stop the car, get out of the car, and prepare to go on foot to take a look. Because although this place looked simple and crude, there were all kinds of mountains and cliffs, which formed a good picture. It would definitely be very beautiful when taken in a photo. Chapter 2162. Yang Ming and Lu Yezi found a safe place to park the car. Although there was not much wind or rain in the Medicine Valley, because the battery car was convertible and its structure was relatively simple, they were afraid that it would be damaged if it was parked for a long time. Moreover, in order to prevent the battery from running out of power for a long time, they must park the car in a place where it could see the sun every day so that it could automatically charge through the solar energy. However, they couldn't be exposed to the sun all day long, so the parking location was a big problem. After parking the car, everyone carried their bags and walked in the direction of the rocks and cliffs. And Susu were just pregnant, so it wouldn't affect their movements. Everyone was physically strong, so they could replenish their energy by resting in the open air for one night every day. After walking for about 2 days, everyone came to the edge of the rock cliff. Although it seemed to be in front of them when they parked the car, they realized that the journey wasn't so easy when they really walked. Some roads couldn't be taken at all. They had to take a detour. So, when everyone came to the foot of the mountain, there was a burst of cheers. This was a place that no one had ever been to, including Lin Dongfang. He had been in the Medicine Valley for more than 10 years, but he had never been to such a far place. One was that the terrain here was dangerous, and the other was that there was no need to come here. We should carve our names here to celebrate. It is estimated that we will only come here once in our lives. I don't know how many years it will take for someone to come here again. Looking at the naturally formed steep rock cliff here, Yang Ming said with emotion. Yeah, the people from West Star Mountain Village on the opposite side will probably never climb this mountain and come here. Because in their opinion, this is the mountain stream. Coming down from such a steep mountain is tantamount to courting death. Lin Dongfang nodded and said. Why is it called West Star Mountain Village? Yang Ming wanted to ask this question last time. At this time, Lin Dongfang mentioned it again. Yang Ming casually asked, there is also a mountain called West Star Mountain on our side. I don't know about this. I just occasionally heard Elder Yu and his men mention it. Lin Dongfang shook his head and said, but what's so strange about this? One is the West Star Mountain, and the other is the West Star Mountain Village. They are two completely different places. There shouldn't be anything strange about that, right? That's true. However, since this village is called West Star Mountain Village, does that mean that this mountain is also called West Star Mountain? Yang Ming pointed at the cliff and asked. I really don't know. Lin Dongfang said, I only know that this place is called the Medicine Valley. I don't think I have any other names. Then let's call this place West Star Mountain. Yang Ming said with a smile, let's carve our names on it. Hee, that doesn't matter. Since you like it, then come. Lin Dongfang found a few hard stones and prepared to carve words on the cliff. Because everyone had taken the incomplete version of the Herculean voodoo, it was not enough to deal with Elder Yu, but it was not a problem to carve words on the cliff. However, even though there was no problem, it still took a lot of effort. Although everyone's strength was greater, it was very difficult to carve words on the cliff with stones because the hardness of the stones was about the same as the cliff, and it was easy to shatter. Although everyone had taken the Jin Gang voodoo, it was impossible to write on the wall with their fingers. After all, those were fingers. In a sense, they were invulnerable, but they could not be used as carving tools. Therefore, when everyone worked together to write the words West Star Mountain on the stone wall, they were extremely excited. Then, they took photos here as a souvenir. They played for a whole day until night, when they lit a bonfire and rested nearby. Tomorrow, they were going to explore further. The night in the valley was quiet, and there was no sound. Everyone was tired for a day, but they couldn't sleep. They all lay on the ground and talked. Lu Yezi and Yi were quietly studying the problem of the child's future. Yezi, do you really want to leave the child here, and then the two of us will leave this place? That child is so pitiful. Yi was an orphan when she was a child, so she knew how pitiful a child without parents was. Yi. Actually, you can think of this matter from another perspective. This is also a kind of experience for the child, right? If you don't train, it will be difficult for you to achieve great things in the future. Lu Yezi said, and, you will eventually leave with me. After we leave. Speaking of this, Lu Yezi was a little hesitant. What's wrong? Yi was slightly taken aback. She heard that Lu Yezi seemed to be implying something, but he didn't say it directly. Nothing, there are some things that we should talk about when we reach that step in the future. Lu Yezi shook his head and said, we can come and see the child often. It's not very tiring, right? That's true, but let's talk about this after the child is born. Yi nodded and sighed. Feng Tianlong and Xiao Susu were also whispering to each other. Tianlong, what do you think about our child? If she asks where her mother went in the future, what will you say? Xiao Susu thought that she might leave soon after the child was born, and she was a little sad. I'll tell her, your mother is asleep, but one day, she will wake up. Feng Tianlong said sadly. Then what if she wants to see me? Xiao Susu asked. Didn't Mr. Lin say that? When the time comes, I can seal you in an ice coffin before you completely lose all signs of life, and then wait for him to find a way to save you, or wait for other miracles to happen. Feng Tianlong said, when the time comes, I can take the child to see you. Hee hee. Then you can only lie to her when she is young. When she grows up and understands, she will know that you are lying. Xiao Susu sighed, I really want to see my baby grow up, but I'm afraid I won't have the chance. Tianlong, when the time comes, if you can't stand the loneliness, you can remarry, but you can't be bad to the child, do you hear me? Otherwise, I will jump out of the ice coffin and fight you to the death. If I can really resurrect you, I would rather find another one. But, my heart can't hold anyone else. Feng Tianlong said, if I were a hypocrite, I wouldn't have fallen out with my family because of you, then you don't regret it? Xiao Susu heard Feng Tianlong say this and immediately smiled sweetly and happily. Chapter 2163. Regret? Regret what? Feng Tianlong shook his head. From the moment I decided to accept this mission and come here with you, I've never regretted it. I'm very happy. Xiao Susu heard Feng Tianlong's words and said from the bottom of her heart, but, I really want to advise you, after I'm gone, you should go back to the family. You're the heir of the family and should have greater achievements. Don't hold you back because of me. Go back. How can I go back now? Feng Tianlong smiled bitterly, I've said it before, from the moment I step out of the Feng family's door, I won't go back unless they take you back in a proper sedan chair and recognize you as the young mistress of the Feng family. Tianlong, you're too stubborn. If I'm dead, how can they bring me back? Bring an ice coffin back. Xiao Susu smiled, after you go back, you can let your daughter have a better life. Impossible. After I go back, my father will definitely force me to marry into another family. When that happens, they'll see our daughter as a thorn in their side and want her to die. Feng Tianlong shook his head, you don't have to persuade me. I've already made up my mind. After the child is born, I'll bring her back and register her. I'll only admit that I'm a descendant of the Feng family, but I won't go back. Do as you wish. Xiao Susu saw that she couldn't persuade Feng Tianlong and could only shake her head helplessly. Then what do you plan to do in the future? I'll raise the child alone and find a cure for her illness. Feng Tianlong said, don't worry, I'll do my best. Of course I believe you. Are you still hoping that I'll wake up in the future? Xiao Susu saw through Feng Tianlong's thoughts. Of course, I believe that miracles will happen. Feng Tianlong said. Then I'll look forward to the day I open my eyes, to see you, to see our daughter. Xiao Susu said longingly. That day will definitely come. When that time comes, our daughter might be as old as you are now. Feng Tianlong was also looking forward to the future. Hee hee, when we go out in the future, will people say that we're mother and daughter or sisters? Am I too young? Xiao Susu smiled, when that time comes, people will say that you're leading a pair of twins. Ha 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 ha. Feng Tianlong laughed loudly, that's even better. When the time comes, I'll be an old man and young wife. Everyone will be envious of me. By the way, Sky Dragon, can you promise me something? Xiao Susu suddenly said. What is it? Tell me. Feng Tianlong didn't expect Xiao Susu to suddenly become serious. What do you want me to do? As long as I can do it, I will do it. If. I'm saying if. Xiao Susu paused and said, if there is only one chance to save lives, I hope you can give it to our daughter instead of me. Can you do that? This. Feng Tianlong's daughter wasn't born yet, so he couldn't understand the feeling of a father's love. In his opinion, if there was a chance to save his life, he would rather save Susu than save his daughter. But since Xiao Susu said so, Feng Tianlong looked at her hopeful and determined eyes and said, "Okay, I promise you. If there is a chance, we will prioritize saving our daughter." As long as you promise me this." Xiao Susu nodded with satisfaction. Not far from them, Yang Ming wasn't resting either. He was casually chatting with Xia Shui and Lan Ling, reminiscing about the past. Although Yang Ming didn't interact with Xia Shui and Lan Ling for a long time, everyone had their own beautiful memories. Now that they were talking about it, it was very interesting. I don't know if the Vigor Gu can counter Elder Yu's Jin Gang Gu this time. I have a premonition that things won't go as smoothly as expected. Lan Ling said, "I hope my premonition is wrong, but my premonition has always been accurate." "It has never been wrong, oh. Why do you suddenly have this premonition?" Yang Ming was shocked. "It shouldn't be. Isn't the Vigor Gu the nemesis of the Jin Gang Gu? Why would there be a problem?" "I can't say for sure. I can't explain it clearly." Lan Ling shook her head and said, "The Vigor Gu is the nemesis of the Jin Gang Gu, but there may be some accidents. Yang Ming asked in confusion. "For example, Elder Yu also knows the weakness of the Vigor Gu, or his Jin Gang Gu has mutated after his modification. These are hard to say." Lan Ling smiled bitterly and said, "Moreover, after the Vigor Gu is taken, there is a limit to the number of times it can be used. After a few uses, you have to take nutrient solutions or spring water. In this way, the problem comes, you mean, if after a few attacks, we don't hit Elder Yu, or if we hit him, but it didn't achieve the expected effect, and the Vigor Gu can no longer be used here, we will fall into a passive situation, right?" Yang Ming nodded and asked. "That's right. That's what I mean. Many things can't be said to be possible in theory. In practice, there will always be accidents." Lan Ling nodded and said, "I have a good idea." Yang Ming suddenly said, "Since the quick cicada goo can secrete nutrient solutions, then we can give the quick cicada goo to Brother Lin Dongfang and let the quick cicada goo produce nutrient solutions in his body. In this way, wouldn't we be able to maintain the activity of the Vigor Gu? In theory, it is possible, but the quick cicada goo has now grown into an adult goo poison. As long as it is taken, it will have a great impact on IQ. Memory will decline rapidly, and Brother Lin will become a forgetful idiot." Lan Ling shook her head and said, "Can we take it before we deal with Elder Yu? Isn't that no problem?" Yang Ming said, "For example, if we know that we are going to deal with Elder Yu today, then let Brother Lin Dongfang take it. Isn't it fine? Then what will you do in the future? Even if you defeat Elder Yu, do you want Brother Lin Dongfang to be a forgetful idiot for a lifetime?" Lan Ling asked. "Of course, this is not necessary. I can use the previous method. Use a silver needle, stick the quick cicada goo, and then dig it out. Isn't it solved?" said Yang Ming. "Use the previous method. That's impossible." Lan Ling said, "Could it be that you forgot what you took?" Chapter 2164. What did he consume? Yang Ming was slightly stunned and asked. "Jin Gang Gu." Lan Ling said word by word. "Jin Gang Gu. What does this have to do with the previous method?" Yang Ming was slightly stunned and didn't react. "Stupid." Lan Ling rolled her eyes at Yang Ming and said, Jin Gang Gu, invulnerable. How can you use a silver needle to pierce it? Don't forget that Jin Gang Gu is a passive skill. If you consume the quick cicada goo, you can't kill it anymore. It can only continue to cause trouble in the body and turn the person into an amnesiac idiot. Ugh. I forgot about this. Yang Ming said with a bitter smile, it seems that it won't work. I shouldn't have consumed the Jin Gang Gu. If you don't consume the Jin Gang Gu, it will be more difficult to solve an accident. If the Herculean Gu fails, you won't lose your life. But without the amulet of the Jin Gang Gu, Brother Lin is likely to be killed by Elder Yu instead. That's true. Yang Ming listened to Lan Ling's explanation and suddenly had a headache. This didn't work, and that didn't work. It was like walking into a dead end. He didn't know what to do. Doesn't that mean that the only way is to try? Xia Shui said, but fortunately, Elder Yu wants us to refine the Jin Gang Gu for him, so he won't kill us for the time being. Especially Brother Lin, the main researcher, he won't kill us easily. This is equivalent to saving Brother Lin's life. Yeah, that's the only way. Yang Ming sighed. In front of Elder Yu, this invulnerable weirdo, Yang Ming felt his insignificance for the first time. Previously, Yang Ming thought that he was already very powerful. He was an assassin, had the support of some large families, and even had an island. This could be considered the life of a top tycoon. However, when he really came into contact with opponents of a higher level, he realized that his little bit of skill was really not enough to do anything. Take Elder Yu for example. Assassins were really powerless against him. An enemy of this level had already surpassed the scope of ordinary people. Yang Ming's skills as an assassin were completely ineffective against him. Before this, Yang Ming had never come into contact with an enemy of this level. At that time, he thought that he was already very powerful, but now it seemed that he was just a frog in a well. Of course, although Yang Ming had this feeling, Yang Ming had never been discouraged. In fact, looking at Yang Ming's growth during this period of time, along the way, the opponents he came into contact with were from the initial gangsters to some assassin families. They were also getting stronger and stronger. However, Yang Ming never flinched. He always went forward bravely and stepped on the difficulties under his feet. Therefore, this time, Yang Ming also firmly believed that he could defeat Elder Yu and win the final victory. Because there might be more powerful enemies in the future, Yang Ming had to grow in difficulties. For a long time, Yang Ming was a person who couldn't be idle. Just like this mission, he knew that there was a tiger in the mountain, but he still went to the mountain. In order to become a hero and eliminate evil, and also for the peace of Lan Ling and the others, he must take down Elder Yu. There will be a way when the time comes. Lan Ling said, you don't have to worry too much. That's true, now it's a little troublesome. Yang Ming nodded and said, let's sleep. We still have to play tomorrow. The night passed in silence. The next day, everyone only woke up when it was almost noon. Firstly, they were really tired from walking yesterday. Secondly, everyone had been whispering last night, so they slept late. Therefore, they only woke up when the sun was high in the sky. It was really comfortable to sleep. Yang Ming got up and stretched, while Lan Ling and Xia Shui helped Su Su, Yi, and Qin Shaojing to prepare food. Bro, this trip is really worth it. I didn't know that there was such a fun place here before. Lu Yezi said, even if we come again in the future, we will go to the opposite West Star Mountain village. It is impossible to come to this Medicine Valley again. So, you also decided to let Brother Lin Dongfang stay here? Asked Yang Ming. And, what if we don't decide? Lu Yezi shrugged and said, this is the only way. We have also persuaded him, but he said that he is the most suitable. You don't have to trouble Lu Yezi. This is my own decision. Lin Dongfang said, it's not bad here. I am also used to this kind of quiet life. I will spend my old age here. Okay. Yang Ming shrugged and didn't say anything more. On the other side, Lan Ling and the others had already prepared the meal. Everyone went to eat and continued to move along the mountain wall. Everyone walked and took photos. Soon, it was afternoon. When they were tired, everyone sat down on the stone and prepared to rest. I'm so tired. We can't walk again tomorrow. Let's go back. The road here is too difficult to walk. If we continue to walk, we will probably die of exhaustion. E couldn't bear it. After all, she was pregnant and didn't have Xiao Susu's physique. The first one who couldn't bear it was naturally her. Okay, anyway, the scenery in front is almost the same. Let's not walk anymore. We will rest here tonight and prepare to return tomorrow, said Yang Ming. It's okay. I can carry her. Lu Yezi didn't want to spoil everyone's mood, so he said. We've had enough fun. Feng Tianlong said, the scenery in front is nothing special. It doesn't make sense for us to continue walking, so it is also everyone's intention to return. Yeah, there is nothing in front. Yang Ming pointed to the stone cliff not far away and suddenly made a strange sound. Hey. What is that? What? Lu Yezi, Feng Tianlong and the others were stunned and looked in the direction Yang Ming pointed. Yang Ming's eyesight was better. He originally wanted to see if there was anything different in the distance, so he used the telescopic ability. As a result, he saw a silver-white, shiny thing in the distance. However, the others' eyes couldn't see as far as Yang Ming, so they didn't see anything in the direction Yang Ming pointed. They all looked at Yang Ming with some doubts. What is it? Lin Dongfang asked, why didn't we see it? There is a silver-white, shiny thing. Yang Ming used his ability to zoom in and observe the strange thing. However, when Yang Ming's eyes zoomed in, he saw something like a flying saucer. Chapter 2165. The structure inside was also very precise and peculiar, like a high-tech electronic device. Let me see. Feng Tianlong took out the binoculars from his backpack and looked carefully in the direction that Yang Ming pointed. He couldn't help but exclaim, "Aw!" Sure enough, there is a silver-white thing. But what is this thing? Why is it so strange? It doesn't seem to be something from here. It seems to be a metal thing. It doesn't seem to be formed naturally. Lu Yezi was also stunned. He also took out the binoculars and looked into the distance. However, at first glance, he was shocked and jumped up in surprise. What the heck, it can't be. It's actually a UFO. Lu Yezi exclaimed. Of course, what shocked him was not that he saw a flying saucer. Although a flying saucer was enough to make him crazy, the most important thing was that this flying saucer gave him a sense of déjà vu. It seems to be, Lu Yezi felt that it was unlikely. What's wrong, Lu Yezi? Are you sure this is a UFO? Do you know it? Yang Ming listened to Lu Yezi's words and turned to look at Lu Yezi strangely. I seem to have seen this kind of thing somewhere, but I'm not sure if it is. Lu Yezi said, the thing I saw was a UFO, but I'm not sure if this thing is a UFO. No way, we actually saw a UFO in this valley. Yang Ming's thoughts couldn't keep up. It can't really be a UFO, right? It's possible. In our Supernatural Investigation Bureau, there is a department dedicated to studying UFOs and UFOs. Although it doesn't belong to the same department as us, we usually have contact with each other, so I still know a little about this. Feng Tianlong said, there should be flying saucers, but as for what they are, whether it's a natural phenomenon or an alien flying tool, we need to do more research. But this kind of stationary flying saucer on the ground, I don't think there are many of them, because most of the flying saucers that people see are flying in the sky and taking pictures. So, this is really possible to be a UFO. And, there may be aliens in this UFO. Yang Ming listened to Feng Tianlong's explanation and nodded. It seems that I'm too ignorant. I'm in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. I investigate these mysterious phenomena. UFOs are naturally nothing. Let me see. Lan Ling was also puzzled. Why would such a thing appear in the Medicine Valley? She had never seen such a thing before. Yang Ming handed the binoculars over to Lan Lingyi, and Su Su also wanted to watch the UFO, so after Lu Yezi and Feng Tianlong finished watching, they asked them to bring the binoculars over to let them have a look. After everyone finished looking at it, the final conclusion was that this thing really looked like a UFO. Boss, don't you have X-ray vision? Take a look at this flying saucer. What exactly is it made of? Is it solid or is it made of electronic components? Lu Yezi hesitated and asked. I've already seen it before. Oh. This is a technological product made up of some electronic components, not just a simple flying saucer-like object. Yang Ming said, there are many high-tech components that look very sophisticated, but I don't recognize any of them, no way. It's impossible. Lu Yezi frowned. Could it be a coincidence? It shouldn't be them, right? Them. Coincidence. Lu Yezi, what are you talking about? Yang Ming asked curiously, what's wrong with you? Nothing. I must have judged wrongly. It has nothing to do with me. Lu Yezi shook his head. I say, Lu Yezi, what are you talking about? It's not like you to be hesitant. Yang Ming felt that Lu Yezi must have something to hide from everyone. Lu Yezi, are you hiding something from us? Yi's intuition was also relatively sharp, especially when facing Lu Yezi. She felt that Lu Yezi should have something to tell them. This. Lu Yezi smiled bitterly and said, well, anyway, we are all good brothers and sisters. We are all trustworthy people. I won't hide it. What do you want to say? Yang Ming listened to Lu Yezi's tone. It seemed that there was a big secret to hide from everyone. Actually, I have seen a UFO, and I came here by a UFO. Lu Yezi said, whether you believe it or not, I can tell you for sure that I came from a different planet. What? Yang Ming heard Lu Yezi's words and suddenly widened his eyes. What did you say? You came from a different planet. You mean, you are an alien? No way, right? I say, Yezi, is it true? Feng Tianlong also widened his eyes and looked at Lu Yezi in disbelief. However, if these people hadn't known Lu Yezi for a long time and knew that he couldn't make such a big joke, they would definitely think that he was talking nonsense. However, he said it in all seriousness, as if it was true, which made everyone puzzled. So, I am pregnant with an alien baby. Yi also looked at Lu Yezi with a confused look. Will there be a problem with the baby? Alien. Terminator. Xia Shui also looked at Yi's stomach strangely. Pfft. Lu Yezi was amused by Xia Shui's words. I say, sister-in-law, look carefully. I am not an alien. I am just like you. I just live on an alien planet, you just look the same. Many aliens can change. Have you seen Wesley and the Blue-Blooded Man? Feng Tian is like that. Xia Shui said. Ahem. Feng Tian. As soon as Xia Shui's voice fell, Yang Ming coughed. Feng Tian. Wasn't his master Feng Tian? He actually had the same name as the Blue-Blooded Man. Okay, stop fooling around. I'm really the same as you guys. Lu Yezi smiled bitterly. It's just that I moved there, but I don't know the details. I only know that my father wanted me to gain experience, so he sent me here to carry out some dangerous missions. Oh, I understand. Yang Ming said, you mean, you are an Earthling living on an alien planet, right? Yes, but I am still living on Earth. It's just that my family lives on an alien planet. Lu Yezi nodded and said, "Does everyone understand what I mean?" You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.